/throwaway123. I just created that fake account for
CHAN. Let me see this. 1, 2, 3. All right.
Or logged in so we can get questions and stuff here.
Right, cool.
So put it nice and big over here. Did you post anything? Are you doing a new thread or you just posting on that
I did a new thread as well.
Oh, cool.
What was that thing one more time? It was the Ustream?
Ustream.tv
/channel/throwaway123.
And, you know, Eastern it's like 3 a.m. or whatever.
Yeah,
so.
there's probably not going to be a lot of people.
But either way, we'll post a video and people watch afterwards. So.
I wonder.
But we might get some people.
Alright.
I assume you have plenty of questions that are on that list you haven't answered anyway. So.
Yeah. I'm going to try and go back to the original thread. I feel super bad. I can't believe I missed all those. That must have been like on the drive home, or I mean, there's even some that are kind of like right in the middle. You know what I mean? Of everything.
Yeah. Oh, you're one of the few people that actually respond to everything. Like I said, most people die off like pretty quick.
Alright, the first one's like, can you give us a summarized timeline of the events in the Sunni Triangle and how you feel they affected the mentality of your platoon and ultimately led to the killings? We were deployed to the Sunni Triangle. I don't remember what month exactly the first casualties happened. I mean, right off the bat, it was almost instantaneous. We started taking contact, like mortar fire and everything like that at the FOB that we went to. Then one of the lieutenants from 3rd Platoon ended up getting hit with a surface-laid IED on patrol, and then they got ambushed. And that was like the first lieutenant that had to be evacuated. He almost lost his eyesight. From our platoon specifically, I want to say that Nelson and Kasika were the first two to go down. Immediately followed by Britt and Lopez, who was my Lieutenant Britt was the platoon leader in charge of the platoon. That was devastating because that was really the only leadership, like senior leadership that we had that wasn't substituted out. I mean, aside from the squad leaders, right before, like our platoon sergeant got removed right before it, and he got attached to a MIT team. So that was especially hard on everybody because everybody really loved him. And I think that the big thing there is that all of us, I mean not all of us, but a lot of us were still new. I think that when you're in basic, you get ingrained with this, I'm an American soldier, you know what I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, trained to kill, you're invincible because you have like all the best equipment and night vision and everything, like just nonsense in the whole world. And it's when you see somebody go down like for the first time, or like when somebody close to you goes down for the first time, it's kind of like instantaneous, like I'm a human and I can die. Like, and I think that a lot of people, your Howard, Spielman, Green, all those people that got arrested, they were all first go around guys. That this was their first experience. And what's hard is Lopez, Kasika, and Nelson were all from first squad, first platoon. So all of the first 4 casualties, save the lieutenant, were from one squad, one group of like 8 guys. That was the squad leader, the alpha team leader, and then just some of the newer guys. And poor Lopez, I mean, that guy just got off a deployment from Afghanistan, had 2 kids, and got shipped right back around when he PCS to the 101st and got sent right back over to Iraq. And I think that you like to believe that there's some order to things. Like if so and so is a good guy, nothing's gonna happen to them, and that's just not the way it is. So I think that at that point, everyone is so early in the deployment. I think everybody just kind of accepted the fact that they were dead, and I think that that in and of itself is probably the most significant event in terms of the whole deployment. Like just realizing you're kind of like the Walking Dead, and it's just a matter of time before your ticket gets punched. And I think that at that point, you have a really kind of hard time identifying with all the qualities that make you a normal human being. After that, I mean, lots of people got injured. I mean, our first sergeant got injured. He had to go back home for an IED. Like everybody. It was like just, so and so would catch mortar shrapnel. So and so would, break his leg in an IED blast. So and so would, Galloway lost an arm and a leg. All these people, were getting just shredded. Like our whole company was just getting shredded, and it was just like nonstop. And not only that, but and this is something that can be verified with the book. I've read a lot of AMAs from people that are in the service, and I know there's not a lot of people that get into a lot of gunfights. And I know that there's not a lot of people that see that much stuff, and I think that the effect that it had on those group of guys is pretty profound. Just the constant kind of barrage of carnage, and just having somebody try to take your life on like that routine of a basis is kind of like a little bit, I think it's probably harder. But yeah, then after that, like to add insult to injury, like towards the end of the deployment, there was a checkpoint that we ran that was called the Alamo, and we tried to pull it like 3 times just because it was such a tactically incompetent position, but it was deemed like this super important, catastrophic to lose, structure. So we had to go there and control this bridge. The downside is we were stretched so thin that we could only send like 2 guys out there. And sure enough, after the United States had killed Zarqawi, the guy that was second in command and Zarqawi's imam made a vie for power, in Al Qaeda, and they hit this checkpoint, and they killed Babineau on sight, and then they abducted Tucker and Menchaca, and then they tortured them to death and put it on the internet. And I think that I could speak for pretty much everybody in the military that, I don't think that a lot of infantry guys, I don't think a lot of SF guys, Rangers, combat MOS types, your engineers, your MPs, stuff like that are afraid of combat. I don't think that they're afraid of the enemy, but I do think that every single one of us is absolutely terrified of being captured. And I think that was just absolutely devastating to everybody. And that was more from First Squad. Tucker and Babineau were both from First Squad, so that was like a total of like 5 dudes down out of 8 from the original First Squad roster. So that was super devastating. But yeah, I think that everything, a culmination of lack of leadership, the fact that the mission didn't make sense. They were asking us to do impossible things with the amount of people that we had. We were asked to go on impossible missions that just didn't make any fucking sense whatsoever. Like, it's a logistics error. Like, even in combat, there have been studies that, show, like, when a combat soldier is the most effective, like how much sleep we need, how much food we need, how many calories we need to intake, how much water we need to drink. And to run a soldier for, 72 hours without food, like that's a logistics error. That's a failure of the chain of command to properly plan for the mission, in my opinion. I'm not saying that we shouldn't be capable of dealing with such hardship. That's combat. I'm not bitching about it. I don't care. I'm alive and well. But at the same time, like running 2 people at a checkpoint, 3 people at a checkpoint, it's very, very difficult. I think as an individual soldier, and even as a squad leader, who's supposed to be disseminating the mission, to me, like that's like my, as a soldier, as a private, like your God is your team leader and your squad leader. You don't talk to your platoon sergeant, you don't talk to your PL, you don't talk to your company commander. They might as well not even exist. Like, the dissemination of the mission and your understanding of that mission, comes from your squad leader. And if they don't believe in the mission, and if they can't justify to you why two people need to walk down a road and look for bombs when you have IED, seeking robots, and you know what I mean, like you've got EOD, and you've got an infinite number of better ways that you could be doing it, but instead they choose to tell you to walk down a road, you know what I mean, like on foot, and just be like, hey, like when you have an informant that confirmed that there was an IED at that location, and it's just basically okay, like go out and die. It's just, I think it's very, very difficult for you to adhere to or keep on believing in the mission. I think that contributed to it. The fact that the squad leaders, I don't think, had the heart, except for Lozier, who's my squad leader. I don't think that, and ironically, the squad leader of the guys, who did this, but he was out on leave when all this went down, and that should be mentioned. Yeah, I mean, I just don't think, I don't think that people believed in the mission anymore. I don't really know. Aside from that, I mean, and that and just genetics. I mean, I think that the tougher you are, or like there's like pretty interesting, like the guys that were like kind of like the GI Joe types didn't last very long in terms of their mental stability over there. And I'm not saying that that's a like that's a fact, it's a scientific fact at all. I mean, all I'm saying is that that's what I noticed, and I think that stems from the fact that a lot of times, like a lot of the super alpha male type personalities have a very difficult time dealing with this a situation where they're not in control. I think that played a part in it too. What's this?
Just there's some people on, but
Yeah.
So ultimately, if people want to ask questions here, we'll do that, and then
Okay, cool.
so I'll let you know if there's any.
All right, awesome.
No, here's a question.
Shoot. Yeah, no, the VA, it's kind of a mixed bag. Okay, so the care I've gotten from the VA on the care side has been amazing. My docs, for my in the polytrauma ward, along with the my PTSD docs, and the docs for the hernia that I had, and just the just everything. It's been really awesome. Never have a problem getting an appointment. I've been really well taken care of, and they've really kind of like personally latched onto me, and given me all the attention I could have ever possibly hoped for as a soldier. Treated me really well. Now on the compensation side of the house, they can suck a bag of dicks. Like those fucking people. Like the whole process is so convoluted and retarded. It blows my mind. Like and I'm not going to talk about disability ratings or how much money I get or kind of like really get beyond anything that I've told you in terms of the specifics of my injuries. But suffice it to say, after I did a bunch of scans, and after my neuropsych assessment, and after going through and doing the polytrauma assessment, the traumatic brain injury assessment, the doctors recommended that I file for an increase based on the damage that they saw. So I had a whole bunch of doctors that were telling me that I should file for an increase in my disability. So I did that because there's not a lot of data on these types of injuries. I mean, in relation to combat, I think that a lot of the information that they're pulling now from that field is like sports injuries, like boxers, you know what I mean? Like that have to deal with like that level, of severe concussions on a pretty regular basis. And it's like, it blew my mind. I filled out the thing, and the reason why I filled out the increase request is due to the fact that I was kind of worried about what was going to happen later in life, because there's not a lot that's known about brain injuries right now, and I wanted to make sure that I was taken care of, and no one was going to have to take care of me in the event that I just like went totally senile. But yeah, it's been crazy. They actually gave me a 10% deduction from where I was at after all the doctors and recommended that I file for an increase. So I'm fighting that right now. So I mean, it's not all peaches and cream, but I mean, you got to fight for what's yours. And the people on the care side of the house, if you need care, they're awesome. At least in Utah. So I mean, I don't have anything really bad to say about them. But was that sufficient? Yeah, dude. It's a motherfucker of a process, dude. And the only thing I can tell you is just keep going at it. You know what I mean? And don't give up. And it's eventually, things will tend to work out. So, yeah, but by no means expect it to be easy. But like I said, the care that you'll get, I mean, the docs there are good and they really do care about vets. So I hope they take good care of you. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, admin has been retarded. But I definitely hope it works out for you. Yeah, I'll let you know how mine goes. um, let's see.
Somebody said, have you seen Restrepo?
Yeah, I did. I did see Restrepo. I thought that was a pretty solid documentary for sure. Absolutely. Yeah, no problem. No, thank you. I really appreciate you guys taking the time to come check this out and ask me questions and everything like that. Like, you guys have been awesome. Yeah, I felt super bad for those guys in Restrepo. That was a rough go around for sure. But that was like one of the closest things I could honestly compare my deployment to. The difference is like we lost like a lot more guys, and I think that it was kind of like that. I think that our army is geared a lot more towards being able to fight the war in Afghanistan a lot better than Iraq. IEDs are very, very difficult to deal with, especially when they were, in their infancy. Like, when I was over there, we didn't have MRAPs, we had Humvees, and when I was over there, we went through 3 or 4 different stages of adding armor to these Humvees to deal with the new types of IEDs, that we were seeing. And it's like, there's no good way to deal with a 500-pound bomb or 4 or 5 surface laid 155 millimeter artillery shells buried under a road or in a pothole or whatever. It's like, if you get hit by that, you're fucking dead. You know what I mean? So whereas in Afghanistan, it's like the terrain is a lot more open for the most part, and you get into a lot more gunfights out there. And I mean, it's like all of our fighting forces are trained marksmen, and it's like, okay, dude, good luck. The 5.56 round is designed, you know what I mean, for that type of combat. Our weapons systems, function well, for that type of combat. And I think that we're producing a lot of casualties on the enemy. But yeah, I'm not saying by any means Afghanistan is easier. I'm not. I would not want to be. It's a completely different animal. I would not want to be humping up and down those mountains all day, by any means. To be too honest with you, I wouldn't want to go back to Iraq either. So, whatever. Let's see. Sorry, I'm just going to try and go through these questions. Does anyone ask anything else?
I'll let you know if anyone else asks in the thread.
Cool. Did I receive any punishment, or was I rewarded? I was not rewarded. As far as punishment goes, I mean, there's no official, punitive action taken against me for turning these guys in. I did, however, have my awards for valor stripped. And then, obviously, I was treated like shit, so that sucked. Yeah, what do I think about the punishment for the guys who did this? I think it was a little bit light in some cases, and I think it was a little bit excessive in others. I honestly think that Green should have gotten the death penalty. I don't know. Actually, I kind of go back and forth on that, but it's just like, I mean, I've known that guy, and I've lived with that guy, and that guy was a total friggin' sociopath. I mean, if there was ever an argument, that would probably be it. But yeah, let's see.
What would you tell an 18-year-old kid that wanted to enlist?
I would say, for one, it's an honorable thing. I don't regret my military service at all. I don't think that there's a lot of people that do. That being said, I mean, it's not a fucking reality that you can get the gist of by watching commercials. You know what I mean? I would probably encourage him to try and find local veterans that have had that job that he's looking at getting. For one, I mean, make sure he knows what he wants to do. Like, that one of the most common things that I get all the time. I mean, it's fucking hilarious because I mean, I was in the Army, and I've worked with special operations units, you know what I mean? And I was attached to, I worked, I was stationed down at 6th Ranger Training Battalion for a long time, and I worked at Ranger School during the 3rd phase. So I've seen just about every type of high-speed, low-drag, individual there is, and I've operated with a lot of them, CAG, a lot of those guys. And I will tell you, I get a lot of kids who are like, I want to join the Navy SEALs, you know what I mean? I want to be a Ranger. I want to, be SF. I want to be Special Forces. I want to do this and do that. And they play airsoft and whatnot. It's like, dude, you need to slow your roll. You need to really understand how the system works. I would encourage people to do a lot of research about their jobs, try to talk to as many people as they can, and then understand that the reality is that, not everybody's going to have a deployment like mine. Not everyone's going to have a deployment like the Restrepo guys, you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of dudes that I met that were in the infantry that were up at Stryker who never fired a shot their entire time. Like, they never put a body in the ground. They never, got into a gunfight. They never got hit by an IED. Like, they had Starbucks coffee, after their patrols, or green bean is what you got up there. Like a, mocha frappuccino, and you can go have Pizza Hut and talk to your girlfriend on Skype, and you have internet in your tent. You know what I mean? Like, that's the reality of some people's deployments. Or you could live outside or in a bombed out potato factory which burns to the ground, and all your personal possessions get incinerated, and you're taking contact every day. You know what I mean? Like, you have to be ready for both of those things, and on top of that, you have to be at a point in your life where it's like, I am ready if I need to die for this. And if you're not there, you know what I mean? If you're like, I'm not willing to accept that risk, then you shouldn't join. You know what I mean? At least if you're talking about a combat MOS. I mean, there's a lot of jobs that you could have that don't really have that type of risk, but I mean, most people that want to join, that I meet at least, are kind of the super hua, I want to go do some roping out of choppers and whatnot. And I would say just realize it's a big boy game and do your research and stuff like that. And if at the end of the day you decide that that's for you, then I'm proud of you. You know what I mean? You'll get great stories. You'll meet the best friends you'll ever meet. You know what I mean? But don't for a second take that decision for granted. It's not a decision that you're going to come to like that. It's going to be something that you think about, or you should think about, for a very long time, and talk to your family and talk to your friends, and most importantly, talk to veterans that had that job, and make sure that it's kind of in line with what you want to do, and also what you want to do afterwards. Being a soldier is kind of a young man's game, especially in the combat side of the house. So have a backup plan. Have a plan to go to school. Have a plan to transition out. You know what I mean? So,
There's another question.
Yeah. What is it? Let's see. You mean any civilians that had a positive impact on your life? Yeah, of course. There's a lot of people that we made friends with. We, especially the people that lived near the checkpoints, we would try to, after the takeover or the invasion, I think that, everything just fell the fuck apart, right? So, even basic things, electricity. There was only electricity in the Sunni Triangle, maybe 2 hours a day, for everyone that lived in Mulfayad, Yusufia, Mahmudiya, Ludafia, places like that. So it was very, very difficult for these people to get anything done. You know what I mean? There's not a lot of resources. There's not car dealerships. There's not gas stations. Gas stations are legitimately black market petrol, on the side of the road. Some dude went up to Baghdad, got cans of gas, brought them back down, and now he's selling these cans on the side of the road. You know what I mean? So it's very, very hard for people to get by, and the U.S. currency was actually worth a lot there. So what we would try to do is every month there's what's called casual pay, which is basically where the unluckiest group of finance people from a cushy job in Stryker have to drive down to all the bases, and they can give you money if you need to. And they also come with a mobile PX, so you can get stuff like toilet paper, shaving cream, soap, stuff like that. So these people would come down, and we'd take out casual pay, and then what we would do is for the families that lived around the checkpoints that we knew were safe and everything like that, we would pay their families to cook us local meals and stuff like that. So every now and again, a family would come over and they'd eat dinner with us and stuff like that, and we'd pay them for it. And one time, we all went out and we got shaves at this local barber shop that was there, which was really cool. But yeah, whenever, it's an unfortunate thing, the reality of we call it movement to contact missions, where when we were invading Rush the Mullah, which is where Zarqawi was, that was the Wild Wild West. It was a situation where we had to take over families' houses when we were out there, and we were like kind of like fighting to control the area and gain a foothold in that town. And so it was like this really uncomfortable situation a lot of the time. And but we tried to make it as good as we could. You know what I mean? Like, you know, we'd have somebody playing with the kids, and like, I mean, it was, you know, we'd let them listen to our iPods and play with our night vision and stuff like that. And we tried to be like as friendly as we could. And then a lot of, I mean, and this is like the men, like you don't talk to the women at all. Like you don't, like if you go into a house over there and there's like, you know, like the wife and, you know, the husband's gone, and it's like all of his daughters who are all like, you know, adults, you know what I mean? And there's like a 4-year-old dude. You gotta talk to the 4-year-old because that's the guy that's in charge. You know what I mean? If the man of the house leaves, so we'd talk to the men of the house. You know, we'd have chai with them in the morning, and like the families would bring us chai, and we'd have chai and this flatbread that they'd make us with cream, which was super super good. And we'd oftentimes have talks about it, and we'd oftentimes have talks about, you know, why are things the way that they are? You know what I mean? Like, why do these people hate us so much? You know, why don't you guys, when these bad guys come into your house and take over your house and shoot at us at our checkpoints, and we have to shoot back and put holes in your house and endanger your families, like, why don't you guys not let them do that? You know, in America, if you live in a neighborhood, you know what I mean, for the most part, and this might sound ignorant, but at least this is how I would be. You know, if you moved into my street and you're a drug dealer and you're selling drugs to, you know, to people out of my neighborhood, you know what I mean? Like, I'm going to get involved. That's not going to happen on my street. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not letting you, you know, ruin the lives of people that I'm surrounding myself with. It's not going to happen. You know what I mean? If, you know, and I mean, we were founded on revolution. You know what I mean? It's I don't know. I just don't understand that mindset of just like, whatever, I'm just going to let it slide. You know what I mean? But at the same time, it was interesting to hear their points of view, and made some good friends, especially with the interpreters. You know, like, guys, those interpreters were super super brave, and they were at a lot of risk for working with us, and, you know, we're always very grateful for their services. So, yeah, good relationships with them.
So, James,
Yeah.
if you were the girl's brother, how do you think you would feel?
Whew. You know, what I think and what I hope are two different things. What I think is that he hates us, you know what I mean, and he's probably going to join the jihad against us. I wanted so badly, and the only time that I ever had the opportunity to kind of even remotely, is I've met this kid twice now. One of which was like, he was like, I was the RTO at the time, so, you know, I was at the checkpoint when he came in and we found that the family had been murdered. They thought it was local tribal, like, sectarian violence, like Sunni on Shia, Shia on Sunni, but, you know, nobody really knew, you know, for sure, and it was just dismissed as you know, just sectarian violence. And then months later I found out, you know, through Uribe, you know, when Tucker Babs and Chaka got killed, that it was actually American forces, and I reported it, yada yada yada. So I see this kid years later at Green's trial, which was like last year, right on my birthday, and the family was coming down. It was like a big deal, and security was crazy. There was like tons of U.S. Marshals everywhere, just because they were worried about an actual terrorist attack, you know, like during this trial. And I wanted to talk to this kid so bad. I wanted to be like, dude, I'm not gonna make an excuse for this. This should have never happened. This is horrible. You know what I mean? I understand 100%. You know what I mean? I do. I buried a lot of people. I mean, I buried more, you know, people than I would ever care, that I would ever wish on my worst enemy. You know what I mean? And I just wanted to be like, dude, don't waste the gift. You know, I did this so that you would know that the people who did this to you got punished. And just don't waste it. You know, there's so many people every day, I mean, especially in countries like that, where it's like your family just gets wiped out because of what church you go to. I mean, basically, you know what I mean? Like, what side of the road you're on. You know what I mean? Like, because you looked at some dude's wife. I mean, I saw a dude get gunned down over, and I mean, as it turns out afterwards, we found out from the interpreter, I was on the roof of a checkpoint. I saw this dude just get gunned down over making eyes, supposedly, at some girl. Like, just gunned down. And there was nothing. He wasn't arrested, like, nothing. It was just like, whatever. That's just how shit rolls over here. And, I mean, he at least knows that, you know, there was justice, you know what I mean? And I would say, just please don't waste it, you know what I mean? Like, I you know, I'm not trying to discount, you know, the pain that you feel and or anything like that, but it's not going to get you anywhere, you know what I mean? It's just not, you know what I mean? And I would hate to see that life wasted, and I would hate to see, the one chance of this deed, like doing something good, you know, like overall, like, I mean, on like the purest level, like be ruined. But I never got to talk to him. But yeah, I mean, I think that I'm sure. I mean, I know as a man, you know what I mean, how I would feel. You know what I mean? I know as a man what I would want to do. And I don't care if they're caught. You know, I'd want them all dead. You know, and I wouldn't be happy until, you know, that was a reality. So because that's not going to happen, I mean, I'm sure that, you know, shit's gonna go sour. I mean, I really hope one day, you know, I get to talk to him, but we'll see. What is it? Yeah, no, I mean, I understand his position completely. So, yeah. Let's see.
He has another question.
What is it?
He's gonna ask.
Okay, shoot.
Sorry, I didn't close this.
I'm sorry I look like shit, by the way. I was at this guy's birthday party until entirely too late, and I worked all day, and then I honestly didn't think a single person was going to talk to me today on this side. So I was just like, been answering questions all day. So. Yeah, I did, yeah. To answer this one really quick, while that one's getting finished answered, plans for getting out of Iraq. Fuck. I would say that I don't know if we're ever going to get out of Iraq completely. I think it's a tactical site of significant importance, like having Bayat Baghdad International Airport as a quick reaction force. You know, or the ability to deploy, you know, warplanes to any area of the Middle East. I think that's going to be tactically important for the United States. I mean, I'm not saying I think that should happen. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that I think that we should be there. All I'm saying is that from a tactical perspective, I think that it's a site of strategic importance, and I don't think we're ever going to leave. And I think that we've gotten out just about as much as we're going to get out of Iraq. No, I mean, the people that we were fighting against, dude, were also foreigners for the most part. A lot of Saudis, there were some Egyptians, there were Syrians, there were, I would say overwhelmingly the amount of people, the unskilled people that put in IEDs for money that were being paid by Al-Qaeda were local, but they didn't have any beef, you know what I mean, in the fight. They were just trying to get by for their family. Most of the hardcore jihadists, like the actual mujahideen guys who are like down for their shit, like suicide vest wearing, like I have a rack system body armor, you know what I mean, shit like that. Those motherfuckers weren't from Iraq. Those guys, you know, came into Iraq, you know, with Zarqawi. They were from all over the place. And as far as the locals go, I mean, there are very, very bad people that, you know, insurgents, you know, born and bred in Iraq. But in terms of that particular sector, most of the people that I was fighting, at least, were foreign. So, no, and I don't look at myself like I'm contributing to a problem over there. Yeah, to the kid that's joining the Marines, dude, you gotta send me your phone number, man. You know what I mean? This isn't like a simple, I'd love to have a conversation with you, and if I could, you know, I'll happily answer any question, you know what I mean? If there's any way I could kind of ease your mind about this stuff and present some options to you, I'll be happy to do that, man. I'm serious. So I don't want you feeling like that. Definitely kick me over an email with your phone number, and I'll give you a call as soon as I'm done here. So.
And James just had another.
Let's see. Yeah. Oh, well, I mean, I think it's the easiest way. Like, I touched on this a bit in the AMA. Like, I don't really think that I don't demonize the enemy at all. I really don't. Like, I know that they're people just like me, you know, but I think that it's the easiest way that, like, even I fall into it sometimes. I mean, I don't really think that they're bad. I mean, I just think that they're on their side. You know what I mean? They're down for their shit. They grew up, you know, in that side of the street where it was like, you know, fuck these guys, and now that's their whole life. You know what I mean? Like, and that's the thing that most people don't understand either, is that, like, Islam is not like Christianity. Like, most Christians are like, I'll go to Sunday church, kind of, sort of, you know what I mean? Like, when I feel like it. I'm definitely going to make it for Easter Mass and Christmas Mass and stuff like that. But it's like, the Muslims in the Sunni triangle are like, you know, I'm touching my head to the ground 5 times a day. You know what I mean? It's not the same. You know what I mean? And that the way that the religion and the radical imams, I'm not saying that Islam is to blame at all, but most of these people are coming out of these really radical mosques, you know, with these radical imams, and that's what they're attracted to, and that's what they're raised on, and, you know, that's what they've been indoctrinated with. So, I mean, their very belief structure is formulated around, you know, killing the shit out of us and hating us on a molecular level. You know, I don't think that they're bad, but I will tell you this, you know what I mean? Like, there's no reasoning with them either. Okay, like that's my biggest point in all of this. Like, when people are asking me, you know, what do I think about this? What do I think about that? It's not that simple. I mean, you know, these are not on 100% playing field people. I mean, some people, I'm sure, if we could all sit down and we could talk and say, hey, you know, why are you so pissed at me? Why am I so pissed at you? You know what I mean? Like, what's the deal? You know, I'm sure that everyone's got valid reasons. I've never seen anyone willing to pick up a gun and fight without a good reason, ever. You know what I mean? Not anyone that's willing to lay their life down the line. And most of the guys that are still around today, especially on their side, are people that are, I mean, they've been at war for longer than most of you guys have been in college. You know, so they're good at their craft. You know what I mean? They know what they're doing. So, I don't know. I'm kind of rambling a bit. I'm sorry. I hope I answered some questions there.
So, all right.
I really do hope we get out of there. You know what I mean? I hope that we do it in a way that will allow the country to stabilize. I mean, I don't really care. I mean, I personally don't believe that democracy can exist based on religion. You know, I think that the only reason why our democracy, which I believe is kind of broken, you know what I mean? Because it's like, you know, separation of church and state, I think we did fairly well, but separation of corporation and state, we fucking failed at. You know what I mean? So, like, that's our problem. But I don't believe that you can have a democracy based on religious factions. I don't, especially when they're so different and they hate each other so much. So, like, over there, it's like you have an election and then they fucking assassinate the guy who gets elected because they don't want to wait till the next election. So it's like, you know, I hope that we can find a way to stabilize the country by making sure that the military and the police are strong enough to a point where they can actually protect their own citizens. And I hope that we get them to a point where they're ready to start trading internationally and they have a viable economy and stuff like that. I mean, I don't want to leave those countries like high and dry the way that they are now, you know. But I mean, I, like every other soldier who's over there, I assure you, you know, can't wait to go the fuck home and eat soft serve, pinkberry, and, you know what I mean, watch football games again. So I really hope that we're out of there soon.
James had another question.
What is so radical about that? You know, honestly, I think that it's not necessarily radical to say kill invaders. You know what I mean? I think it's radical to hate an entire race, creed of people. You know what I mean? And be indoctrinated, you know, to commit acts of violence on them for, you know, no reason on a global scale. You know what I mean? We're talking about, like, I'm not talking about your average everyday person, you know, like the average guy who threw an IED in front of my truck. I'm talking about guys who followed Zarqawi around the globe, committing acts of violence for no fucking reason. You know what I mean? Like, that's, like, I'm not saying that the United States is 100% right. Like, I know that Iraq right now is being recorded as a disaster. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to be the next Vietnam, and everybody that ever died, you know, that I've ever loved in this combat is going to be, like, I've had people tell me, like, what a waste. You know what I mean? Like, I know that, man. Like, I mean, it's, I accept that. You know what I mean? I accept that that's how the world views my conflict. You know what I mean? But the thing that you have to accept is that, because I get your agenda and I get what you're trying to push right now. You know what I mean? Like, I really do, you know what I mean? And I appreciate where you're coming from, you know what I mean? Because I know how I would feel, you know what I mean, in that situation. But, you know, we did not attack Afghanistan, you know what I mean? Like Al-Qaeda, you know what I mean, attacked us, you know what I mean? And these countries are incapable, you know what I mean, or unwilling. I mean, there was a huge, everyone forgets this day. Everyone forgets when Bush got up there and was like, we're going to war against the axis of evil. We're going against, if you're a terrorist country, or if you're a country that supports terrorism or allows terrorism to exist, you know, within your domain, you know what I mean, we're going to have beef. And everyone was like, fuck yeah. Everybody was. Nobody remembers that shit now. You know what I mean? And those countries were letting, I mean, even now, like Pakistan, I mean, it's just like these people are operating freely all over in Pakistan. That's why we're running drone missions, you know? And that's the thing, is like, there are evil people who are Islamic. There are evil people, you know, in the army, like Green. You know what I mean? There are evil people in the United States. You know, I mean, all I'm saying is that, I mean, I accept that, that's fine, you know what I mean? Like, but at the end of the day, if you fuck with me and mine, you know what I mean? You fly a plane into my buildings, you know what I mean? Or, you know, whatever it may be, bring sneakers onto a plane filled with Semtex or whatever it is, you know, like, I'm down to fuck somebody's shit up over it, you know, and that's where we're at. So,
alright, so Geb,
what is this? How many referrals have we been getting out involved in the incident? Yeah, I mean, dude, it's when I was saying that I'm probably like one of like 6 or 7 dudes that's like actually out walking around right now, I'm not kidding. Like most of those people are either, you know, like, I mean, lost limbs, you know what I mean? Like they're kind of, you know, shut-ins, so to speak, like severe PTSD, like can't leave the house, you know, or in jail or in treatment facilities somewhere, or dead. But yeah, most everybody that's served there is medically retired. There's a few guys that are still in. DM is still serving. Trying to remember who else. Not a lot. Hernandez is still serving. But yeah, just about everyone else from the platoon is out. Throwaway. You know, that's an interesting question. The best way to keep them from being created, I touched on this briefly in the thread, but I think that there is a huge and oftentimes neglected correlation between international perception and national security. Okay, like nobody fucking bombs Sweden. Nobody, you know what I mean? Like nobody cares. You know, they stay out of shit and shit's fine. You know, and I think that it would behoove us as a nation to focus on our own inadequacies and focus on our own stuff. As kind of like a rule of thumb. I mean, I understand Afghanistan, I do understand Iraq, I do understand Libya to an extent, but at the same time, like, we need to stop being the world watchdog. We do. And we need to respect everyone's right to be different. We need to respect everyone's right to you know, I mean, who gives a shit about democracy? Like, honestly, if you don't want democracy, but you can run a country that doesn't fly planes into our buildings or, you know, commit terrorist attacks all over the globe, more power to you. You know, I don't care if you fucking worship Xenu or whatever the fuck it is, you know what I mean? I don't care. Just don't fuck with my shit. Make cool products. I'll buy them. You know what I mean? Like, I'll sell you cool shit. You know what I mean? Like, that's fine. You know, I don't need to have an ideological, you know, like, level playing field, you know, in order for me to, you know, not be violent with you. You know what I mean? And I think that that's how we should all be, but not making terrorists. I mean, we need to be very, very careful about collateral damage when it comes to fighting these types of conflicts. I think that the use of special forces, ODAs, and people who are a lot better trained for this, like, I felt like I was overwhelmed when I was over there. Like, I was asked to be a civil affairs officer, a policeman, a detective, you know, an infantry guy, an engineer, you know, all these things. And you know what I mean? An infantry platoon at its core, the infantry's job is to kill shit. Like, an infantry platoon coming into your neighborhood is not a fucking good thing. You know what I mean? Like, that's, like, we are designed, you know what I mean, and trained to destroy. Like, that's what we do. We're not trained to hand out BD babies, and we're not trained to do any of that other shit either. You know what I mean? I'm not saying I don't think it's important, or that we're not capable of it, or that we haven't adapted well. I'm not saying that at all. But what I'm saying is that you need the right people for the mission, and I think that those people are special forces. And I think that they understand the idiosyncrasies of the cultures a lot better, and I think that they appreciate the significance a lot more than I think the traditional soldier does. And I think that honestly, technology is going to be a big thing. I mean, when you're talking about people who quite literally don't have the ability to communicate with the outside world, like your world is your village. You know what I mean? Like you just don't know anything else. I mean, how are you supposed to formulate your own viewpoints, man? You know what I mean? Like, how are you supposed to have any outside influences? You know what I mean? Like, how are you supposed to gain knowledge if there isn't a school? You know what I mean? Like, that's through education, through funding the education of these people, making a very solid commitment to rehabilitating these countries, you know, without military force. Like, I'm talking about building schools, providing education, providing healthcare, providing, you know, infrastructure, roads, stuff like that, that their government's not capable of doing right now due to the fact that, you know, we were at war. I think that the future generation will, you know, hopefully be able to be educated, you know, in terms of what happened, why it happened, you know, and have an opportunity to be successful on an international level. You know what I mean? And hopefully be the future of that country, you know, in the international community.
Okay, the one from this one, Roger, 1997.
Yeah, I mean, to an extent. I mean, I think that absolutely we've got a little bit ridiculous. I mean, I can't tell you, like, I get additionally screened, like, perpetually when I go to the airport. It's outrageous. Like, when I was, like, I would get additional security screens, like, when I was in uniform. You know what I mean? Like, with a military ID. I think it's outrageous that you should be made to feel like, you know, humiliated like that. I mean, I mean, I can't. I'm not a father yet. You know what I mean? But I mean, I can't imagine how I would feel putting my little girl into one of those machines. You know what I mean? Like it. I know that they've come a little ways and had like the non-invasive scans and whatnot, but I think it's gotten a little bit ridiculous. But at the same time, I think that there's also a level of stupid that we're all going to have to put up with now. That's the 20th century, like large-scale force-on-force combat. I think is the thing of the past, and what we're going to be dealing with now perpetually is going to be these insurgencies and attacks on civilians and attacks on our infrastructure. And I mean, look what that did. I mean, in reality, in terms of a casualty scale, I'm not trying to diminish the significance of 9/11 or anything like that, but in the grand scheme of things, it was relatively few casualties. Okay, when you're comparing that to like a major conflict, okay, or a major attack or anything like that. And look what it caused. I mean, look what it did to airlines. You know what I mean? Look what it did to our infrastructure. You know what I mean? It's a very effective way of fighting, especially when you're fighting a large enemy like the United States, if that's your agenda. So I think that all of us kind of have to, you know, suck that bag of dicks and just accept the fact that we're going to have to, you know, get patted down or, you know, something. You know what I mean? Like they have to. I think they need to find a better way, but I think that it's never going to be like you can smoke your cigarette and just walk onto the fucking airplane ever again. You know what I mean? So.
James got a little bit more discussion.
The better way to prevent terrorists is actually maybe read what they want. Yeah. Like, dude, I'm totally willing to have like a reasonable conversation, but to like, I mean, you're like sitting there acting like Al Qaeda, and what they do is like completely valid 100% of the time. Like, I'm sitting here saying, dude, like, the United States isn't perfect. You know what I mean? Like, the military's not perfect. I'm not perfect. You know what I mean? Like. I mean, fucking Lord knows I'm not a saint. I did some fucked up shit over there too. You know what I mean? Like we all did. You know what I mean? That's war. But you know, canonizing murderers. You know what I mean? Of civilian people, using hospitals as safe havens. You know what I mean? To attack, you know, soldiers, using schools, children. You know what I mean? All that stuff. I can't get behind that, man. I mean. I don't hold anything against them on a personal level, you know what I mean? But you're not going to sit here and win an argument with me, you know what I mean? Or change my mind about the fact that the people that I fought against, you know what I mean? Like, fundamentally, there's no changing their mind, you know what I mean? And they're definitely wrong, you know what I mean? Like, they're definitely... I'm willing to be reasoned with, you know what I mean? Like, happily, if I thought for a second that I'd talk to... you know, Osama bin Laden, and he was like, you know what, my bad on the tower thing, you know, that was a little immature, you know what I mean, and I'm sorry about that, you don't have to worry about us ever again. I'm going to go over here, you know, I'm going to do my thing, I'm going to run a church, and people that want to, you know, listen to what I have to say, awesome, cool, but I'll never bomb anything else ever again. Ever again. None of my people are going to do it, and he had the power to do that, and all I had to do was get out of Afghanistan. Fuck yeah, dude. Awesome. But it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And as long as there's people like that are being indoctrinated to hate Americans, you know what I mean, and attack us, you know, not only here, but internationally, you know what I mean, then, okay, cool. Then we have to bomb the shit out of you in Pakistan, in fucking Egypt, in wherever you are. I mean, that's what's going to happen. So...
Fry guy.
Yeah, that's okay. So, Fry Guy. All right, that was an interesting question. That was actually kind of a tough one for me to put together. So this is what happened. Lozier goes on leave. Lozier is the squad leader of 3rd Squad, which are the people that perpetrated the attack. The way it works now, or the way it worked at the time, was a full squad. Like, we never had a full squad of people, so it would be like a slimmed down squad or like a fire team plus one. Sometimes. You know, that were holding a checkpoint. Well, the senior person in command was Cortez, one of the perpetrators of the murder-rape, who was in 3rd Squad. So he assigned where the 3rd Squad personnel were going to be, okay, in terms of how we're going to be laid out at the checkpoint. And I say we as a platoon. I was at TCP-1 when all this happened, because I was the platoon RTO, because the company RTO got killed, and then our platoon RTO got bumped up to company, and I got bumped up to platoon. So I was kind of like logistics guy at that point. So I was always near the lieutenant. But in either case, he made the roster who was going to work at TCP-6 and TCP-2, okay, which were right next to each other, ironically. I know it doesn't make sense, but that's the way it was. And so he picked the guys that he knew were going to be down for that shit, okay, and he put them at his checkpoint. And then he put all the people who weren't down for that, Diaz, Hernandez, who was the other guy? I'm sorry, man. It's been a long time, and my memory's not that good. Reed. Put Reed down at the other checkpoint. So now you've got all these people, and plus Green from 1st Squad, you know what I mean, who are now in a position where even the highest level chain of command, which was, you know, an E5 at the time, you know, Cortez, are all down for the same thing. So that's how it was possible. Oh no! What are my thoughts on Libya?
Oh yeah.
You know what? I think it's ironic. I think, and this, you know, people can hate me if they want. You know, I despise when a government persecutes its people. I really do. I think that those people deserve revolution for sure, but at the same time, I think revolution is something that needs to be earned. You know, and it can't be given to you. I think that, you know, we should definitely supply them with arms. You know what I mean? On the stipulation that they're obviously going to pay us for them somehow, some way. But at the same time, it's like, this is kind of like another Iraq scenario. I don't understand why people are so against Iraq. You know, and people are all like, fucking Libya, yeah, sweet. You know what I mean? It's the same thing. It's like the last thing we need to be doing right now. You know what I mean? Like, what we need to be doing now is, at least I think, I mean, after all of this, is just like, fucking, do you realize in Arizona, my mom's a principal, okay? In Arizona, unless they actually increase sales tax by 2 cents per transaction, all music, PE, and art programs are going to be cut out of every single school in the state. That is fucking criminal, okay? You know what I mean? Like, the amount of money that we're spending on this needs to change, okay? And I mean, I feel bad for Libya, but, you know, I think we should do what we can. But I mean, fucking NATO can help out. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of other countries, you know, that can offer assistance. You know, like, let France fucking step up to the plate for once. You know what I mean? And do something. You know what I mean?
Okay, I guess it's this one then.
Talk to the indoctrination people. How does that jive with Americans being indoctrinated? Could you elaborate on that a little bit more?
Yeah, talking to the throwaway.
Oh, okay. Make out. I think that, you know, to a certain extent, what's his name? James Weston.
Are you talking about the throwaway?
Yeah. I think James Weston is right. I mean, I think that, you know, we should do our best to understand their culture. I think that we should do our best to understand their desires. You know what I mean? And I think that, We should do our best to improve our perception in the international community. I mean, I used to wonder why people hated Americans. And then I traveled, and I saw the Americans that traveled, and I realized why everyone thinks we're douchebags. You know what I mean? Like, I really do understand, why people think that way. And I think that we could do a lot here to set an example. If we turned our education system around, became the world leader in green energy, restored, not necessarily restored, because I do think that we have the best educational system in the world when it comes to high education. Like, our colleges are still some of the most sought after in the entire world. But if we made teaching like you enter as a teacher and you're making $100,000 a year, and it was like the most competitive program at any university, and it was like all the latest technology was used, and we dumped all of our resources into that. America would be a fucking superpower beyond all recognition again. You know what I mean? And we supported small business, and the government helped. You know what I mean? Like, I think in terms of allowing small business to exist, I think that we'd be amazing, and I think that people would respect us, and I think if we stayed out of people's business a little bit more, people would respect us. And I think if we weren't so quick to allow shit like Fox News to fucking get out there and just demonize an entire creed or nation of people, you know what I mean, that we would probably be a little bit better off.
James West.
I don't know. I personally, I had never seen that girl before. I'd never heard her talked about. But then again, there was a period in that squad where there was a fundamental rift. All right, there was guys who started drinking, you know what I mean, and doing drugs. And then there was, guys like me, and Reed, and Hernandez and Diaz who didn't. It's like, we're soldiers. We're not. You know what I mean? We're not gonna fucking do this shit. You know what I mean? I get it. You're fucking fucked up, but we're not like that. I have no idea. I can't speak to that. I'm sorry. None whatsoever. There's no psychological exams whatsoever that are performed on soldiers before they're deployed. In traditional combat MOSs, in order to go 18X, Special Forces, Navy SEALs, Rangers, anything like that, you have to, from what I understand, you have to pass a psychological evaluation. Cultural awareness classes? Oh, dude. Pretty much everything that I learned on my own. I mean, I learned, some conversational, not conversational, I would say commands in Arabic, in order to make me more efficient at doing my job. I tried to pick up as much as I could from the locals and the interpreters. And I tried to understand their culture as much as I could as an individual to make me better at my job and make me better at hunting and killing my enemy. You know what I mean? But I don't think that it was the standard by any means. And I don't think, in large part, that the infantry is designed, or the people that they recruit into the infantry, you know what I mean, are specifically designed for that type of purpose. I think there needs to be a lot more. ROTC. I don't know, man. I think that, I don't want to say all training is good training, but I would say this. I think that it has its place. You know what I mean? And I think the most important thing an officer can do that's planning on getting into the military is listen to his NCOs. NCOs have been there, done that like 3 times over. They've been in the Army longer. They've been, or in any branch. They've been in longer. They know what they're doing, and you can do a lot. Or you can learn a lot, especially as a new lieutenant or a new officer. You do well by listening to people that have been there. And trying to develop a leadership style that is effective. You know what I mean? Pay attention and be the best that you can at your job. Class warfare. I think it's not even so much classes as I think it's just, the fucked up thing to me. I mean, I think America's really kind of fucked right now, just due to the fact that even successful entrepreneurs are just selling their ideas. You know what I mean? Like, people aren't you know, like, well, my company, you know what I mean? I'm not trying to promote my company at all. So I'll just call it my company. You know, I build computers. And, you know, I think, you know, we're going to have a machine that's coming out that I think is going to be a pretty big game changer, you know, in terms of what I do, okay, for the industry. We've been like people have tried to buy us before, and I think that now, especially we're gonna start getting on the national stage. People are gonna try and buy us, you know, even more now. But I'm not gonna sell to anybody. You know, I would like to create a little niche market. I know I'm not gonna become another Apple. You know what I mean? But I would really hope to become, you know, a respected name, American name brand. You know what I mean? But that's not the easy thing, dude. The easy thing would be for me as an entrepreneur to say, okay, you know, when the value of my company, you know, gets me, you know, $10 million, $5 million, whatever it may be, you know what I mean? Just sell. Fuck it. Fuck everybody. Fuck the people that work for me. You know, fuck their jobs. You know, whatever. And it's like, that's when we change that ideal, you know, like where everyone's just in it for an easy dollar. You know what I mean? I think that we're going to go a long way towards making America better economically. Class warfare. I mean, I think that education is the biggest problem there. You know, if we find a way to educate people and have the best educational system in the world, then everyone's going to have great opportunities. If we furthermore allow our government or make our government to make it possible for these people who have this education, have these great ideas, have a forum where they're going to be able to get these ideas launched and find ways to get loans for startups, you know, and get venture capital or whatever it may be. You know, I mean, America is going to, you know, really get jump started again, but it's just people have no fucking interest in that. You know, at least people that I know. Let's see. What was it?
What were you called slang over in?
What were I called?
What were you called by the locals? I presume.
I guess like Jundies, soldiers. I mean, I wasn't aware. And they had names for my squad. I don't know what it would be in Arabic. They called us the Mean Squad, or, you know, and then in the battalion they called us Murder Inc. Just because my squad had a lot of confirmed kills. But I mean, no one had any disrespectful names for us, as far as I know. But I mean, I'm sure that they had stuff to say about us, but behind our backs. Yeah, I mentioned it on Reddit, and thank you, like honestly for hoping that it works.
Somebody had mentioned, where do you think the next major conflict will happen?
I don't know. I don't think it's going to be a lot of people. I mean, it's funny. I mean, if you watch Fox News, I mean, it's like the whole world is going to invade the United States and China and everything like that. China is so invested in us economically. Like, even if North Korea decided to pop off and launch nukes our way, that would immediately promptly fall into the ocean because they're based off old Soviet systems. So don't be scared of that. Realistically, China would just step back and just be like, we're kind of like depending on these guys, so if you want to go to war with America, that's fine. And then one of the other big things is realistically, I mean, a lot of this fact I don't think a lot of people understand. Like, we spend more on our military every year than every other country in the world combined. Like, we could like legitimately like wage war at the same time everywhere and probably win. So it's one of those things where I don't see large scale force on force conflict ever taking place ever again. I mean, the one exception to that would probably be like an Israel-Palestine, you know, deal over there. What would you guys say? Is there anyone from the Middle East here? Like, what do you guys think? You know, as a father, I mean, you know, my dad was a vet, and you know, I mean, that was during Vietnam. I mean, I'm sure that he wasn't stoked on seeing me join during wartime, but you know, when your child hits adulthood and they're capable of joining the military, you know what I mean? He never tried to sway me either way. You know, he didn't glorify his days in the military to me. Just like I'm not. When I have kids, you know, if they ask me, you know what I mean, I'll happily tell them I was in the military, and you know, if they want to know about it, I'll happily tell them. And if somebody decides, like, if I have a son that wants to put himself in harm's way, you know, with a job like that, then I'll talk to him about the reality of that. But at the end of the day, you know what I mean, someone's got to do it, and I would be proud that I had raised somebody who was willing to put their life on the line for others. So I'd be proud. Okay, you're going to WLC. All right, that's a warrior leadership course. I would say this: if you're gonna have a team over there, dude, I would actually love to have you send me an email. I don't think that this is one of those questions that's going to be like a little response, and I'll happily, or I'll give you a phone call sometime if that's what you'd like. It's just Justin at geekbox.com. That's GEEKBOX.com. Did you get that?
Is that to Fry guy? Is that to Fry guy?
I don't know. It was
This guy.
Yeah. Fry guy. All right, perfect, dude. Yeah, just send me an email with your phone number, and I'll give you a call. Israel and its treatment of Palestinians.
Then you got Richie right above that as well. So you can.
And y'all are a fucking rough crowd, dude. I'm not even playing. Like, these are some rough questions. Oh, let's see. No, I do like you guys. Thank you. What was the other one first, John?
Oh, just the Richie 70.
Richie, you said jump ones or other describe the insurance and perpetrators, and if you haven't already talked about this. Yeah, I was in the barracks when I got back. I mean, this is an example, like when I'm talking about kind of like the inept nature in which this was handled by the military in terms of my. I mean, I would say this: like John Goodwin did everything he could to protect my safety. Captain Doherty, the captain of Charlie Company, did everything he could to protect my safety. Absolutely. Unfortunately, where the lieutenant colonel, Colonel Kunk, who's a blathering fucking idiot, and pretty much responsible single-handedly for the demise of my unit. That guy put me. So I get pulled out of Bravo because too many people are dead. They're combat ineffective. Okay, so they get scattered to the four winds. Like my entire platoon, that Bravo gets pulled out, and then. Essentially, what ends up happening is I get attached to PSYOPs for a bit as an additional security element. So I just like go out there and make sure that, they don't get killed for a little while with it while they were trying to figure out what to do with me. So after my time was done there and they figured out what they wanted to do with me, they sent me into Charlie Company, which was the company that got tasked with taking over all of Bravo 1st Platoon sectors. So I went straight from Bravo to PSYOPs during the Mamadia riots, which was fun, and then back right into the same exact places, the Alamo, the JSB, TCPs and stuff like that I was in prior to. So, and then when I got back, I got stuffed in Charlie Company's barracks, which were right next to Bravo Company's barracks, like legitimately, like not even a football, toss away. Like you could crumple up a piece of paper and toss it and hit Bravo Company's barracks. So, I was just like one night after work. It was like a Friday evening, probably I don't know, like 11 o'clock at night. I was just drinking a few beers with my buddy, who was my roommate.
How long after you came out with the?
This is like when I was back in the States. So I mean, I don't know on time, but probably just a few months. It was what it was. So I just got jumped by a bunch of dudes. I mean, I don't know who they were, and they were in the baklavas and stuff like that, and. We fought and we bloodied them up and they fucked my shit up for sure. But I'm still here, so that was that. And then I had one of my platoon mates try to get into a fight with me. It was like a real tricky kind of ambush situation. I'm not going to give up his name, but we've kind of resolved our beef since then, and everything's. I mean, it's not like we're friends, but we're not enemies anymore. So.
And this just ties right in with that, I guess.
Yeah, for sure, serviceman. Let's see. Israel and its treatment of Palestinians. I think that both sides of that shit are fucked up, and that's all I can really say on that. I will say that the Jewish population is probably the single most oppressed population in the history. Like, there has never been a culture that has been more dominated, I think, over the spirit, like the span of our civilization as human beings than the Jews. And I think that they deserve a place like everybody else. I think that I would love to see a little bit more of this from Israel. You know what I mean? Like working with the Palestinians in terms of what they can actually I mean, I don't think that they should be like the authority figure in that region. Is what I'm saying. I think that everyone should have kind of an equal say. But I certainly I can appreciate Israel's perspective. You know, kind of surrounded by people who, you know, essentially hate them, and I understand why they hate them, and I understand why they hate everybody else too. So hopefully democracy can prevail, and you know we can prevent like all out fucking nuclear war. But yeah, I mean I don't think that things need to be half as hostile as there are. I mean I certainly understand the Palestinians being upset. I mean there's definitely, you know, there's room to talk on both sides of that coin. Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking myself in terms of the large scale force on force conflict. I think that special forces ODAs, increased spending in infrastructure and technology, like stuff like UAVs, drones, and specifically stuff in our intelligence community and our law enforcement communities. And then building up, like I was saying, through international perception. It's like if we had very, very strong allies that we respected, that we worked with all the time, developing networks of information that we shared, because, and not like kept for ourselves or we're competing against or whatever, but like really legitimately, like we're all looking out for everyone's best interests. Like I feel like we could definitely do a lot to protect or do a lot for our own national defense. I really do. I think that people downplay that a lot. I think that people say like you need a super, super strong, super huge military. I don't agree. I think that, you know, realistically, we don't have to necessarily downsize. We can use our people a lot better. And I think that if we specialized in developing our special forces ODAs, increase the amount of training in certain areas, and then also better equipped our law enforcement. I mean, that's the thing. Like, people talk about defense spending all the time. It blows my mind. Like, there's a police department out here, and I'm not going to tell you which one, because I do a lot of computers for the local PDs out here, and their SWAT team doesn't have rifle plates in their bulletproof vests. They don't have bulletproof plates inside their vests. Like, their vests will only stop like low caliber handguns. Like, does that not fucking blow your mind? Like, seriously. You know what I mean? So, like, we need to invest in the infrastructure there. Like, there's canine units who can't even pay to have their dogs looked at when they get tooth infections. You're talking about a dog who finds like $800,000 a year worth of dope. 800 grand. You know, the operation will cost $5,000 or $2,000 or whatever it may be to fix this dog, and they don't do it. You know, like what the fuck is going on? You know what I mean? Like, and that's with education. That's with that, and I think that special forces ODAs, the intelligence community, and international perception, working with our allies, is going to do a lot to protect our nation's soil. Yeah. Okay, so I was in Chicago with my godfather. It was like the last good meal I had before I went back on to Fort Campbell to deploy to Iraq. And I went to Chicago, met up with my godfather. We went out for steak at Shulo's. And my godfather gave me this gift that I had been eyeballing at this outdoor store. Is a Sunto Vector. A Sunto Vector watch. And I fucking loved that watch. And that watch... I mean, I'm not sad that Anderson's got it. I think it's a cool story now. Like, I got drunk and I gave Anderson Cooper my fucking watch and he took it. You know what I mean? Like, I think he tried to give me my watch too, or give me his watch. And it was like a Rolex or something. I was like, no, dude, you're fine. And I went and I passed out. You know what I mean? And it's a cool story. But yeah, the Sunto Vector, it was a great watch. I'll tell you right now, if you're looking for like an indestructible fucking watch, go get that. Was there another question associated with that?
I don't think so.
I think about Wall Street and
if you want to read the question real quick, because we're gonna
yeah
post a full video after, just so that people will get context. You know.
Gotcha. Okay, sorry.
No problem. I'm just thinking about it.
Let's see. What do I think about Wall Street? What do I think about Wall Street not allowing another company like Google to exist? I think that's bullshit. I think that sucks. Google's awesome, and I think that what they've done for the planet is absolutely ridiculous and unbelievable. So, I'm not a huge fan of Wall Street at the moment.
I don't know if Zemo Faya has a question. He's just obviously just enthusiast or something.
I will be answering questions on Reddit for sure. I mean, if you have any questions at all, man, send me whatever you got, or comment on whatever, and I will be. I mean, until that thread is dry, I'll be answering questions. So, and if you want to ask me a question here, I'll be more than happy to answer a question here. And I don't know, John and I might make some more videos. So, I mean, whatever it is.
Yeah, it looks like you wanted to ask a question, but they withhold the URLs on here.
Yeah, I can't see the URL.
So if you want to type it out, but anyway. So.
National defense of the. All right. In terms of national defense, with the NSA allegedly conducting domestic spy operations, do you feel like this is a constitutional failure or a necessary evil to keep Americans safe? This kind of goes back to. I don't know if any of you guys were like really reading the thread, but a lot of people were asking me about Bradley Manning. A lot of people were asking me about all sorts of stuff that's kind of like how we handle situations that aren't clearly defined, I guess. Yeah, this is the most common story I tell when people talk to me about Black Ops stuff. So there was a group of special operations soldiers who were operating in the area that I was operating in during the time that we were hunting for Zarqawi after we had found him in RAO. And these soldiers, one day, I shit you not, this is probably one of the most butt-puckering moments of my deployment, because it had already been fucked up, but I was on a supply run with some of the guys from 3rd Squad. It was like me, Lozier, Barnes, Barker, whatever, and all of a sudden we get this fucking call on the radio. It was it was special operations soldiers that broke into our net, and it was like, break, we've got birds down, we need immediate help, because we were the closest unit that was there. And it was like fucking every dude in the infantry seen Black Hawk Down, and I was like, no, you know what I mean? Like I did not want that to happen. But yeah, so like we go out, and like 2nd platoon's out there, and we have to secure this crash site. So the crash site, is this down. There's 2 birds that went down, two little birds, like you guys saw in the movie, and. Essentially, we're at the first crash site with one group of these special operations soldiers, okay? And these guys set up a perimeter, and, we're basically trying to defend this position so it doesn't get overrun, so we can get a wrecker in there, so, we can get all of our equipment back, and, the enemy doesn't get a hold of any of the communications equipment, any of the weapon systems, anything like that from these birds. So we're out there, and we're waiting on this wrecker, and then the wrecker comes and it gets blown up because insurgents came in behind us and they laid IEDs all down the road, and they blew up the wrecker. So they sent in another wrecker, blew up that wrecker, and they sent in a Buffalo, which is like a big IED sweeping vehicle. They blew up the Buffalo, they sent in another Buffalo, blew that up, and then the last Buffalo in all of Iraq at the time came in, and we were able to get that road cleared and get all of our shit out, and it took about 3 days of laying out in the sun near this chopper, okay? And I remember afterwards, like these guys, like it's a nightmare. Like for me as an infantry guy to get an airstrike. Like if there are like enemies all over the goddamn place, I'm like being overrun. It's like impossible to get indirect in an airstrike. It's impossible. It's impossible to get chopper gunners. It's impossible to get any type of like longbow support, anything like that. It was like damn near impossible. And the best thing you can hope for is that you have waypoints set up for 120 millimeter indirect. So, and it's impossible to get a medevac. But well, at least it was where I was there. So, these guys though, when you're in special operations, these guys, I shit you not, they had Gatorade and hot chow fucking air assaulted into them. Okay, so. These guys are calling in airstrikes on anything that looks suspicious. And I understand, to a point. When you're operating in that small of a group, you know what I mean, out that far away, like you can't take chances. You can't. I do understand how they operate. And I also believe it's absolutely necessary. Like when Tucker, Babs, and Chaka got killed, SF teams, were on the ground very, very quickly looking for that soldier, interrogating people and just doing stuff that, generally speaking, I'm sure people don't want to hear about. They go after and they fight the way that the enemy fights. You know what I mean? And that's, do I believe it's necessary? Absolutely. If people had to fight the way that I had to fight over there, no one would fucking respect America. But they know goddamn good and well that we've got CIA ninjas and fucking, Delta guys and people that are going to be able to infiltrate your country, you know what I mean, underneath the radar and if need be, raise an army and overthrow you, you know what I mean, or just end your life with like a single shot. So I believe that the people that we have are necessary to maintaining a balance. I mean, that's not something I wish that we could all just sit here and say, you know, fucking, we've got these guys, we do this fucked up shit, but so does everyone else, so it's okay. You know what I mean? And it's necessary because these assholes over here make it necessary. You know, I wish that we could do that. We can't. So let's see. You know, to be honest with you, I don't feel comfortable. That was a question in regards to like a specific amount during a budget cut. Like I wouldn't feel comfortable, nor do I feel qualified to say this is how much our military needs to work. Like I would, if somebody brought me in, I'm sure that I would be like, okay, that's stupid, that's stupid, that's stupid, that's stupid. Spend money over here, save this, and you know whatever. I'd probably have it fixed in like 15 minutes. But I don't know those numbers, so can't answer that for you, buddy.
The question he's referring to there is this one. So.
Okay, this fucking question. I've seen this shit like 4 or 5 times. Okay.
I'm gonna repeat it real quick.
This is, why did I wait 4 months to say anything? Why did you tell a counselor during a session about an unrelated incident involving 2 other soldiers who died instead of an authority figure? That's not true. That's not true at all. Okay. This has been one of the biggest annoyances to me. I found out about what happened, okay, that night that Tucker, Babs, and Chaka were killed. All right, on like coincidentally, you know what I mean, like that happened, and I actually got plucked out with Uribe. Like Uribe had a hernia from an IED that he needed to go get surgery on, and I needed dental work done. So we were both up in Stryker waiting to get this stuff done, or on our way up to Stryker. We were in Mamadiya at the time in a tent, okay. And we were talking about what was fucked up, you know, about, you know, how they were captured and, you know, how the whole tour had been fucked up and how so many of us were dead and how many, so many people we loved were dead, okay? And then he was like, you know what's fucked up, man? I was just like, what? And he was like, you know, that do you remember that murdered family? And I was like, yeah. He's like, that was us. Yeah, that was our guys. That was Green. And now he thought it was one person, and logistically, I mean, I knew Third Squad. Those guys that brought me up. I mean, that was the most highly trained and proficient squad in the battalion. I'm very comfortable to say it. Like, if there was a direct action mission that needed to get done, they'd send us. You're not going to creep into Third Squad's wire, you know, creep out by yourself wearing pajamas, holding an AK. You know what I mean? Then creep back in while any of us are on guard. You're going to get mowed the fuck down. So I was like, there had to be other people in on it, and then I acted like I knew, and I talked to Howard the next day, and he confirmed it, and then immediately after that, I called my dad, and then I went to, I had to find a way to report it outside of the chain of command, because the chain of command on a level that I was dealing with it, you're talking about squad leaders who have, you know, it is completely diminished from this the most professional organization and you know that I'd ever seen, into this childish clique system where it's like fucked up people who are feeling sorry for themselves are over here, then you've got your guys that are trying to hold on over here, and you've got, you know, this inept group of people over here who just doesn't know what the fuck to do. You know what I mean? It's everything had diminished, so it's like I knew that if I told anybody through my chain of command, you know what I mean, it would have instantaneously gotten all around, and before there would have been a chance for me to actually be able to get out of there, I would have probably gotten fucking fragged in my sleep. So, because you got to sleep sometime, man, you know. So what I chose to do was go talk to a combat stress counselor, and when I got in there, I talked to Sergeant Davis. Okay, this guy's from Boston, and I was like, you know, he's like, well, what's going on? You know, are you having problems sleeping? I was like, no, I'm not. You know what I mean? Like, this is what's going on. I mean, this happened. I need you to believe me. I need you to investigate it. I don't have time, you know, blah, 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 whatever. You need to fucking do it. And he's like, all right, I'll look into it. So that wasn't really good enough for me, but it was all that I had, you know. But Uribe had found out that I went there, and he knew that we had that conversation the night before where I was trying to convince him, you know what I mean, to actually go forward with me. He didn't do it. He told me to shut the fuck up, and he kept a close eye on me after that. So it was something that was believable, you know what I mean? Like, what was going on at the time was essentially Tucker, Babs, and I mean, I've got PTSD, I'll admit it, you know what I mean? Like, I go to counseling, I don't fucking care what anyone thinks. If anyone survived, I mean, what I survived. I'd be surprised if they were even still walking around, you know what I mean, doing anything. But I did not wait to turn those people in. I did it as soon as I could do it, with the best possible chance of me not getting killed. And I don't think that there was anything wrong with the way I did it. I did it with my own best interest in mind and with the best possible chance of this coming from multiple angles, so that realistically I would have the best possible chance of getting out of there, and it would have the best possible chance of seeing light. I mean, that's the thing, is that they were the PTSD unit, the combat stress unit, was a guard unit. They're not regular army, so they don't fall under the purview of Colonel Kunk. You know what I mean? They could use outside methods, and to this day I don't know who it was, but I do believe it was Colonel Bowler who did, call Ryan Lands, who blew this to the media and probably saved my life, which is from that unit. So, as it turns out, I think that I was pretty lucky. To zoom, what? Hey, what did I miss? Did I miss something here?
Yeah, this one.
No,
Oh,
it's like I thought that he.
no, that was a question.
Okay,
You just
all right,
yeah.
gotcha. All right. Yeah, I think that one of the biggest mistakes that people make in general is not. I think the demonization of the enemy leads to underestimating the enemy. I think that there's a profound lack of respect among enlisted soldiers who have not been in combat for their enemy. And the thing that they have to understand is this: is that okay, you went to basic training for 9 fucking weeks. Okay, you went to A school for 4. At a best case scenario, all right, unless you're SF or something, all right, which most of those people aren't. Okay. These fucking people have been living in combat for 4 years. That's like longer than most people here have been in college, and they've survived, which means that they're fucking good at it. They're not like the stupid people that die right away. You know what I mean? So it would behoove anybody who's going into harm's way fighting against today's enemy to fucking absolutely respect them. They're not inept. They're not the best marksmen. They don't have formal training, but they're crafty. And they know how to blend in with the population. They know the ranges of our of our night vision capabilities. They know, how to lay IEDs, very, very well to avoid detection. They know how to set up ambushes. They know they know small unit tactics very, very well. Did soldiers smoke weed at all? Yeah, there were some people that got in trouble for smoking weed. I'm not justifying it. I'm just saying I understand that, like, if you're put in a situation where you're operating 100 miles behind enemy lines, you know what I mean, and you're surrounded by people who just shot down your choppers, you know what I mean, who are closing in on your group of 6 people, I understand calling for help. And I felt terrible about the civilians. But, and back to that story, so it was reported in the news differently than I'd seen it anywhere else. So, I mean, I was there, I saw it. What was reported was not accurate. Yeah, I mean, it was reported as like there was a lot of enemy, and there was a lot of enemy KIA, but there was also a decent amount of civilian KIA as well. And it was all listed as enemy KIA. And that was one thing that kind of disappointed me. So, I don't believe everything you see in the news.
Writing a book.
No, I've never thought about writing a book. I mean, I don't think I would have the ability. I would need help if I was to ever write a book, and I don't even know if people would be that interested in reading it. Libya question. Do I think the ground troops are going to become involved? I think ground troops are probably already involved. I mean, I think that they're, like, didn't we lose a bird there the other day? How did that fucking pilot get out? I mean, I'm almost positive that we probably have SF ODAs on the ground right now. Or, I mean, don't take me as an authority. I don't know. You know what I mean? All I'm saying is that we got fucking people everywhere, man. We're we're the United States, so Yeah, I mean, I think that maybe not from the United States in terms of actual combatants, but perhaps advisors. I see as providing probably weaponry at a bare minimum, and continuing on with the no-fly zone. And I really do hope that we let NATO or the UN or like whatever it may be, kind of do their part in terms of handling this ordeal. Thank you, the throwaway. I appreciate it. I thought I did have it up there.
Yeah, I think you did.
You get dishonorably discharged, or it's kind of up to your commander. The question was how much trouble you get in for smoking weed, and the answer to that question is it depends. There's a lot of guys I know that tried to get out of a deployment by like popping hot for coke or pit, just weed or whatever it may be, and if you're trying to do it right before deployment, I mean, I think that what they do is they take all your rank, they give you Article 15s, they make your life miserable, and then they send you to Iraq anyways. I think that if you're over in Iraq and you get caught smoking weed, they'll probably say you're endangering the lives of everybody and you're a fucking idiot, and they'll probably dishonorably discharge you and kick you out. But it completely depends on your chain of command. So, thank you. Definitely, I do not think I'm a hero by any stretch of the imagination. Don't ask, don't tell. Okay, don't ask, don't tell. That's an interesting question. So when I was in basic, there was a guy. I'm just gonna call him Russell. I'm not gonna tell you if that was his first or his last name, but that dude was the baddest motherfucker in my basic training platoon. And that dude was gayer than a box of dicks. Like that dude was gay as fuck. And he was a bad motherfucker, man. But he wasn't. I don't know. It wasn't like really problematic because he couldn't admit that he was gay. It was just very, very obvious that he was gay. You know what I mean? And it caused fights. Like people tried to jump. He just beat the shit out of everybody. But here's the deal. I think that as much as I do not identify with any type of homophobia or any of that. I think that there's plenty of gay people in our military right now, and I'm proud to have served by all of them. You know what I mean? Like whether or not I knew it. But at the same time, we do have to respect those people in the military that don't share that viewpoint. Okay, like I don't feel like if your wife, let's just say you're a man, okay. If your wife was in the military with me, I don't think that you would feel comfortable with her taking a shower with me, right? Just like I wouldn't want my girlfriend or whatever to take a shower with you. I think that and then it's like, okay, with gays, where do you draw the line? Like is it transgendered people should now be able to join the military or not? You know what I mean? Like where I think that the system right now is fine. I think that there needs to be. And I'm sorry, I know this isn't going to be popular, but I think that there's a lot of reasons why it's okay in the military and why it's not okay in the civilian world. In the military, it's not about fucking making you happy. Like if you decide to join the military, it's not about your individual happiness level. You know what I mean? You decided to serve your country. You know what I mean? And 90% of the time, you might have a good time with the friends you make along the way, but you're also going to spend fucking years in shitholes that you could not possibly fathom. You know what I mean? Like being in danger and everything like that. Like it's not all fun and games. There's a massive divorce rate. There's a massive suicide rate. There's a massive amount of damage that your body takes, that your mind takes. You know what I mean? Everything like that. It's not about being happy and be able to do whatever you want in the military. It's not. You should be able to be gay and get married all over the all over the place around here. I do think in the United States, I'm 100% pro some type of solution for that issue. But in terms of the military, I just don't think that as a heterosexual man I should be. And I'm not. I know gay people. I have tons of gay friends, and it's not like they're like this, but. I don't think I should be or any other soldier should be subjected to any type of advances or any type of anything like that would make them uncomfortable. I don't. That goes for women, that goes for men, that goes for gay men, that goes for gay women. So I think the system right now works for the military, not the civilian world. So.
Is it Egypt?
Thank you. Well, if you know anyone that wants to write a book, holler at your boy. I was fucking fascinated by all the what do I think about all the revolutions that are happening right now? I was fucking fascinated by it. I mean, it's like that one guy. What was it? Tanzania? Tunisia? How do you say it? I'm a fucking idiot. I sound so ignorant right now, but this dude sets himself on fire. Yeah, that's where it all started, right? This guy sets himself on fire. It was a self-immolation deal, and then all of a sudden, or was it Bahrain? I honestly don't know. Tunisia. Okay, cool. So this guy sets himself on fire, and this fucking all of a sudden it's revolution everywhere. You know what I mean? Like it's unbelievable. You know, and I think I'm not. There's a lot of people like if you watch Fox, I think there's a lot of people that are really really scared of what's happening over there. But I think it's honestly a good thing. I think that most people and the governments that are gonna come into power from this revolution are gonna be a very 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 proactive and good part of the world. So I'm all for it. I love a good revolution. So yeah, exactly. All right. Let's see. Did I miss anything?
I think we're.
Was everyone punished who was involved in the massacre? Yes. No, I don't feel like anyone really fell through the cracks. I mean, I think that some people got off kind of light, but I don't think anyone fell through the cracks. Clans wants to shower with my wife. I'm sure you would. I don't have a wife, though. Let's see. Well, and that's what I'm saying. R. B. Rouse, or R. Browse, was just saying that they wouldn't even let them in because, you know, just with the health screens and the psychological screens, they wouldn't even be allowed to get into the military for transgendered people. But is that not the exact same type of discrimination that people who are gay are facing? And that's exactly my point, is where do you draw the line? You know, should people with depression or asthma or anything like that, like the military is not a fair system, and that's what I'm trying to say. Okay, like I wish I bet I come off as some sort of bigot, you know, by saying I don't agree with the don't ask, don't tell being repealed, and I really hope I don't. But where do you draw the line, man? You know what I mean? And that's why I'm saying, like, the military is its own thing, and I don't think civilians necessarily should have as much of an impact as they do on how that functions. I mean, I think that we should have, you know, the dog on a leash for sure, but at the same time, I mean, it's a completely different animal, you know, when you're actually inside the beast. No problem on being honest. No, I never knew of a female soldier who got raped.
Yeah, those are these two.
Yes. If you try to kill yourself, chances are you'll be discharged. All the different countries serving in Iraq. The Brits are fucking awesome. Those guys are hardcore. The Dutch people, the Dutch aren't. Like, those guys are. Yeah, the army from the Netherlands and the Dutch guys are super super hardcore, and the girls. They're about it. There's a lot of people that contribute to a lot of different things. I mean, I don't want to diminish, you know, anyone's service. I mean, every different country's got something to give. You know, I mean, they have like a limited level of what they can give. You know, but everyone gave, and I respect everyone's service. You know, they're in whatever job that they did. Everyone was away from their families. Everyone suffered, and everyone put their lives at risk. So I mean, some to more, you know, to more of a degree than others, but it is what it is.
I remember asking how old you were when this happened.
How old were you when this happened? How old were the guys in this unit? I was like 23 or 24, and I think that most people were around that age and younger. So most younger, like 21, 22. No, I do not watch Fox News at all. Do I think the U.S. needs to be the world police? No, I do not. I think we need to brush up on our national perception and hopefully gain the respect of the international community, and then focus, very, very heavily on our own internal infrastructure and developing, clean renewable energy that's going to get us through the next little bit, and developing our educational system further, reevaluating our values, and dealing with the problems that we have, joblessness, hunger, stuff like that. It's we have a lot going on here. We don't need we need more problems to solve. Like, we need another asshole, I think. Oh, best and worst experiences with fresh LTs. Did I miss anything? Yeah. Okay. So, Britt was a new booty, and this dude was a bad motherfucker too. Like, Britt was a ranger for one, which is automatically you'll get a lot of respect for having your tab. But furthermore, Britt was, he was a gym rat, and he was a bright dude, real bright dude. So, not only could he wax philosophical with the guys who were pretty quick in the platoon, but during combatives and stuff like that, when we were doing our hand-to-hand training, he just mopped up everybody. The dude was just an all-around beast. And it was just funny, though, because it's like, he's inexperienced. He was new. He was a new lieutenant. So it's like, he would do shit. I remember, the lieutenant doesn't go on every patrol, okay? But he learned real quick that he needed to get as much experience as he could. But early on, he didn't go on a lot of patrols. And we were going on all these patrols, and we were learning a lot every time and adapting our tactics and finding ways to more effectively engage the enemy. And I remember going out with Britt one time, and he walks into this, we're doing this mission, and I forget what it was, Operation Glory Light, or Wall Street, or something. But he's walking into houses with a map like this, covering his face, like he's reading the map, trying to figure out where he is, and it's just fucking grab your weapon, dude. Don't walk off by yourself. You know what I mean? He's at one point, Lozier was tie yourself to that fucking lieutenant. You know what I mean? They were friends, but it's it's, I don't know, man. It was funny, but at the same time, it was kind of scary. You know what I mean? Great experiences. I remember Lieutenant Norton replaced Britt after he got killed, and this guy is a second lieutenant, and he was mentored by a sergeant major, and this guy just had it spot on. He was a funny guy who knew his audience. He was, he had authority for sure, but at the same time, he wasn't afraid to let us know that he really did care about us. He was definitely kind of a part of everyone's life. You know what I mean? He would do stuff this is one of my favorite things that he ever did, was he did this thing where he would let us quit. So, when we were at the JSB, he had this box where we could fill out our resignation. And we would go in there, when we were fucking so pissed off because we just couldn't take it anymore. And I'd be like, "Sir, I quit." And he'd be like, "Well, I really feel like you're a valuable part of the organization. Why? You know what I mean? I just don't want to see you go. Is there anything we can do to convince you to stay?" And I'd be like, "Fuck no, sir." You know what I mean? You just go off and just be like, "I fucking quit." And you'd walk out of there and you'd feel better. And then one time, he didn't make me cut my hair for forever. So I had the longest hair. It was ridiculously out of regulation. And he would do stuff have mustache growing contests, just outrageous shit like that just kept morale up. And whatever the platoon sergeant left, he would get us all up on the roof, and he'd let us zero our weapons and stuff, zero our weapons, which is shoot at ducks or fucking birds or whatever it may be. So it was just stupid shit that soldiers like, and it's he was a very effective leader who commanded a lot of respect for sure. Lot of wives. Best and worst experiences with LTs. Was that a good enough answer for you, Fry Guy? Wives cheating on their husbands back home. It seems to be a military phenomenon. That's another whole conversation. I think that as a whole, our society is becoming more and more incapable of marriage. I don't think they build our generation and and it's worse for every generation that's growing up now. It's instant satisfaction. It's no one's willing to wait anymore. No one's willing to put anyone's needs before theirs anymore. So yeah, it's just these 20. I understand. I was 22, 23. You know what I mean? And I know how women who are 22 and 23 years old are for the most part. I'm not making a blanket assessment of all women by any means, but People just want to have their needs met. They don't fucking care. So, I mean, yeah, it's like that happens all the time. There was like a 98% divorce rate in my battalion or something ridiculous like that. The Haditha massacre. You know what? Honestly, I did hear about that. That was the Marine unit that got hit by the IED, and then somebody died, and they went into the town and I think killed a bunch of people. I would prefer, before I answer that question, to kind of go brush up on that stuff. I did not, I don't remember it well enough to kind of give you my thoughts, but obviously it seemed like that was a little bit shady. And I'm not trying to understate the violence that happened that day. All I'm saying is I remember thinking that was a questionable event, you know what I mean? But at the same time, I don't remember the details. Thanks, dude. Yeah, I did. I heard about that today. That woman who was raped by Gaddafi officers' supporters. Who showed me Reddit or gave me the idea for AMA? That would be Cameron. He's my purchaser for Geekbox, and he always sent out these emails with a SIG that had this troll face on it, and I was just like, that thing is fucking hideous, dude. You know what I mean? Like, what is this from? And he's like, it's from Reddit, and I was like, all right, let me check this out. And then I got fucking so hooked on like the Rage comics and everything else you guys do. It just fucking cracked me up, and I was like addicted to your site. And he's like, you should do an AMA. And I was like, nobody's gonna care. And he's like, I think people might be interested. And I was like, all right, well, I'll do it. And then fucking, it was awesome. So. General view on Marines. I think that Marines love themselves very much. I think that there's nothing more badass than a Marine in his own mind. No, in all seriousness, I have nothing but the most respect for Marines. I have nothing but the most respect for all service members. What I always get is who's more badass, a Marine or a Ranger or an infantry dude or whatever it is. And it's like, dude, honestly, it doesn't fucking matter. If you're combat MOS, if you're a grunt, you're a grunt. If you're a gunslinger for a living, you're a badass. That's the way I feel about it. You know what I mean? I think that you're a badass if you're in the military, hands down. I mean, I think you give up a lot, and I respect you. But I don't think that the Marines are any more high speed than the Army, or the Army is any more high speed than the Marines. I think the whole competition is stupid. But yeah, I do have a lot of respect for them. And there's a Marine Reserve Infantry unit out here, and I've got a couple really good friends in it, and I always talk shit to them. And all the cops out here that I deal with are always ex-Marines, and they're always like, ho ho, making fun of me. They're like, why didn't you join the Marine Corps? And I'm always like, because I knew how to read, and they wouldn't let me in. So, and they're like, ha ha ha, and then they go give people tickets. So, let's see. Do I still believe in military solutions to foreign problems? Fuck. I should have gone to like some really dumbass site where people would ask me stupid questions like, what color apples I like.
Oh wait.
You guys are fucking busting my balls. Let's see. Military solutions to foreign problems. I think in the right scenario, you know what I mean. It can. What are you talking about? Like Libya? Are you talking about Libya, Palestine, Israel type scenario where we could potentially get involved, or we are currently involved on some level? And I'll come back to that. Did I have second thoughts or regrets about opening fire on anybody? No. No, I did not. But then again, I always gave it an extra second. You know what I mean? Before I fired any shot in combat. I gave it as long as I possibly could. You know what I mean? And I validated all my targets, and I was comfortable every time I pulled the trigger. So, no, I did not have second thoughts. How surreal is it to adjust to civilian life after serving? Dude, it is fucking hard. I mean, I could tell you a billion different things about how retarded I felt on a number of occasions. Getting out, like, I mean, I used to, like, and I wouldn't even realize I was doing it. I'd be like on the sales floor. Like, I started as a technician / sales guy for Geekbox, and I'd be like out there talking to these people, and I'd be like, this fucking computer is the fucking shit, and you should fucking buy like 3 of them because it's amazing. And I'm like dropping the F-bomb like every 12 seconds because that's how you talk in the infantry. And like Adrian's over there in the corner like, no, you know what I mean? Don't talk to the Mormons like that. And I'm like, and then they buy one, but you know, like that's hard. And it's hard like dealing with civilians who are like, you know, just like soft and squishy, and it's like they're fucked up, and you're like, hey, you're fucked up, douchebag, you know, fix your shit. And then they're like, my feelings, you know what I mean? And you can't get anything done. You know, like that, but work ethic, like in general, I'm not talking shit on people. I mean, there's tons of hardworking people everywhere, but in the military, it's not okay. Like, you know, if somebody fucks up payroll and like some soldier doesn't get paid, it's, guess the finance is staying until the soldier gets fucking paid. You know what I mean? Like that's the way it works in the military. Here, it's just like, oh, fuck it, you know, fuck you. We'll get to you on Monday, and you know, I don't care if you don't have food. So whatever, suck a dick. You know what I mean? Like just people's attitudes in general, like. Nobody gives a shit. No one really cares. So it's very, very hard to, like, we really do try to do a very good job at the company, like taking care of people's, you know, machines and taking care of people's expectations and making sure they had a good time. It's hard. Customer service is really difficult, and I think that, you know, you need people to work very hard on a day-to-day basis in order to make that a reality, and that hasn't been easy. Not only that, but relating to people. Like, when I got back, I was married. I'm divorced now. But when I got back, I mean, I used to hear shit, like, all the time that was like, you know, I'd get home from, like, a fucking 14-hour day, you know, and I'm just like, I'm not complaining about it. Like, I don't care. And, like, you know, my wife would be like, I went to Starbucks. And my wife didn't actually sound like that, but that's how she sounded to me when she would whine. And like, she'd be like, I went to Starbucks and they got my coffee wrong, and then I had to go inside, and then it took them forever to make me another one. And then I went to school and the professor was mean to me. You know what I mean? And it's just like, I hear this shit and I'm just like, just wanting to, like, I'm like, okay, so you basically are retarded. And you know what I mean? Like, that's not valid at all, and whatever. And that's not a bad day. I could tell you about a bad day. Like, did you bury anybody? You know what I mean? Like, did you bury anybody today? No? Okay, so shut the fuck up. You know what I mean? Like, I had to work all day in retail. Suck balls. You know what I mean? And it was really, really difficult to transition and, like, compare my experiences to what I felt like, you know, other people, you know, were going through. And that was really hard for me. And the memory loss was super, super difficult. Like, I mean, I'd do shit, and, like, I'd be like, oh, I'm going to go smoke a cigarette now, and, you know, like, someone would be like, hey, how'd that shit go? And I'd be like, oh, it was awesome, I did this and this and this, and I'd go back in, and, like, it wasn't even done. Like, I had, like, replaced the memory of me doing that with something else, and I was actually just zoned out for, like, 5 minutes. So, that's extremely difficult, too. Alright, someone's telling Fry Guy that his M4 is a piece of shit, and needs to be replaced. I don't think M4s are pieces of shit. I think DI guns have their place, especially like on a local level here, or on a home defense, or as like a, you know, as an assault rifle. I think in that type of environment, in a combat environment, DI guns have weaknesses in terms of their reliability. I absolutely did have tons of problems. I mean, you do your best to maintain your weapon over there, but you know, when you're on a deployment like I was on, I mean, your cleaning kit gets split up, but you know, amongst 6 dudes, you know, and like you've got like a toothbrush, one of those fucking dust brushes, and like a piece of ripped up t-shirt, and that's like your cleaning kit. You cannot keep a DI gun functional in that type of environment with those tools. Now, a piston gun, like, you know, an LWRC, POF, HK 417, 416, yeah, all day. That's why I run an LWRC. You know, I've got a Reaper, I've got a 12.7 inch M6A3 suppressed, and that thing runs like a fucking sewing machine. So I would bet my life on that technology. So I don't think it's a piece of shit by any means. I'm not talking shit on your gun. I mean, for law enforcement type application, for like home defense application, load it up with some Hornady tap and you're good. Oh, what type of music did we listen to? Before Mission, like, I listened to a lot of Jeezy, Young Jeezy. I listened to a lot of Thrice. Deftones, Rage Against the Machine, 50 Cent was big at the time. Ricky Ross was good. I would wait for, in terms of building a gaming machine, I would wait for EVGA and the like to release their boards that are on the Sandy Bridge platform. I would not buy a gaming machine right now. No, my wife did not cheat on me. It was a gentleman asked if my marriage ended because my wife cheated on me. No, she left because I was an asshole. No, I'm just kidding. I wasn't really an asshole. She left because I was working a lot, trying to make partner in this company, and I think that she felt like she was in second place, and I was looking at how hard I was working as, like, you know, my sacrifice for the development of our family. She wasn't a super good communicator. Our problem-solving skills weren't the best, and our marriage ended. She left me, and she moved back home. Fuck. The biggest problems we had to deal with, people trying to kill us all the time. Yeah, I mean, the cleanliness, I mean, the overall cleanliness was terrible. Hygiene was horrible. Sunburns, heat-related injuries were a big deal. Prickly heat, one time I had my tear ducts, get clogged, and they swell up, and my eyes, swelled shut, and I had to get them lanced with a 16-gauge needle. That was fucking terrible. That's how dirty we were. I was filthy. I once went 33 days over there without a shower. I know that that's not, by no means a record over there, but fuck that shit. I was a dirty motherfucker. Never again. Now I take 2 showers a day, unless I'm talking to you guys.
Yeah, your day's kind of gone to shit.
Yeah. "13 Fox as a forward observer, yeah. Never had to fire my weapon in anger. Just asking." What was the question?
That was just response.
Did we establish an SOP for dealing with heat casualties during a patrol? Yes, absolutely. Everything. What did Brian De Palma get wrong in his movie Redacted? Everything. He didn't talk to anybody. He didn't get any facts. He took an incident that had real world implication. You know what I mean? On people's lives, their service, their reputation. And then he basically tied it into, this movie, and he just took creative license to say and do whatever the fuck he wanted to. I get his message, I do, you know what I mean? And at first I was like, oh, it's fucking Scarface, Brian De Palma, you know what I mean? He's directing a movie about Mama Dia. And then I saw it, and it was like watching an abortion happen, on video. It was terrible. It was terrible, and I was offended, and they made the guy who was obviously supposed to be me look like a fucking idiot, who just let a rape and murder happen, which I would have never done. They made our unit look incompetent. They made soldiers look incompetent. Tactically, they were all dicked up. Uniforms were all dicked up. Yeah, it was terrible. Okay, heat casualty. Essentially, we had, obviously, I don't know if when you were in or you currently in or whatever, but we had EFR. I don't really want to get too far into the SOPs, but it's, we had equipment, and we were all trained, how to give IVs and whatnot and assess heat casualties. So we had the equipment to deal with it. It would depend on how far we were operating away from the fob, and in terms of the evacuation or the treatment or whatever, if we had a medic or if we didn't. So there's a lot of different kind of contingency factors, but essentially we all had IVs, that type of equipment, and everyone knew what to do when people went down for various things. So Bradley Manning, what is my opinion on what he's done? I think like I said, okay, so perfect world, Justin thinks that, I wish that we could all just communicate openly about everything that's going on. You know what I mean? I wish that everybody didn't have to lie. There was no such thing as intelligence agencies. There was, and everyone could just get along and respect each other. That's not the case. And at the end of the day, what he did was put a lot of people on his side of the street, in danger by doing that. I think he deserves to be tried for his crimes and punished for his crimes by a jury of his peers, just like any other soldier, who does something wrong. That being said, he knew what he was getting into, but the way he has been treated thus far is absolutely criminal. You deserve the right to have a speedy trial. And being in solitary confinement for 23 hours a day is absolutely fucking ridiculous. You know what I mean? Well, you're not even innocent or guilty. I think that it's terrible the way he's being treated right now, but at the same time, because he has earned the right. I know the soldiers are going to light me the fuck up, but he's earned his uniform, and he deserves to be treated like that until he's proven guilty. And right now he's not being treated like that. Yeah, SOP is standard operating procedure, and I think that he was just asking me if we had any good SOPs for treating heat casualties, but I don't want to get into how much equipment we carry, what types. Not to mention the fact that I've been out for a while. I don't even know, if that's still accurate. But at the same time, I don't want to, put any information out there that shouldn't be out there, and also get convoluted because the event of a heat casualty happening in an urban, environment where you're operating with Humvees, and you're close to a fob is completely different than if you're out, on a movement to contact mission 12 clicks away, from anything friendly. So, it's like there's a situation for everything. In terms of fob ramrod kill, is that the dude from the Alaskan Striker unit who's up in Afghanistan? And those guys, like, from his squad were, like, fragging civilians? You know what, Jay Swery, I actually went over that a little bit above. So I did already talk about that. And this video is going to go up here shortly. Kilometers, clicks, sorry. No, you're fine. It's not your fault. Yeah, you just came in. Don't even worry about it, dude. Not a big deal.
Somebody did ask your favorite war movie and video game.
Oh, favorite war movie and video game. I don't really have a favorite war movie. And as far as the video game goes, fuck, man, you can't just pick one. The one that probably means the most to me is Duke Nukem 3D, because that's the one that got me started into gaming, and that's such a huge part of my life that kind of led me into this career. But I had a blast. I got competitive in Quake 2, so that has its own special kind of little place. And then I've got some great memories from RTCW. I've got some great memories from Quake 3. Yeah, I've had a blast playing everything. I'm having a great time playing StarCraft now, and I fucking suck. I'm terrible. I should be in food stamps league. I'm not even terrible. Jay Swear, yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. And no problem. I really appreciate you guys taking the time to ask me. You know what? I didn't play with a handheld game thing. Well, thanks, Treadstone, first. Thank you. I appreciate that. I was amazed at how many of you guys were actually interested in hearing what I had to say, and it made me really, really happy. There wasn't really a whole lot of positive, reception. When I got out, so it means a lot to me, to have you guys take the time out of your day to tell me thank you or whatever. I want to make sure that I get back to every person that I possibly can. I realized I actually felt really, really good when I came over here. I was like, I fucking answered every goddamn question. You know what I mean? I was like, I'm coming over to John's house, and then I was scrolling through on his computer, and I was like, holy fuck, on the way home from work, I missed a bajillion questions, and I'm scrolling through, and then there's questions off of replies that I realized I missed. So I'm gonna be at it for a while, but I do promise I will absolutely answer everything I possibly can. I did not play overseas on any handheld gaming consoles. All my possessions were incinerated in the fires of Allah when my base burned down. So my iPod and everything like that. I didn't play Age of Empires 2. I didn't. Lost Hawaiian. Everyone has a breaking point. How was I able to keep from breaking up myself under the same circumstances? I ask myself that question a lot, and I don't know. I think it's because I don't take myself too seriously. I don't think I'm the baddest person on the planet. I really don't. Like, if you want to talk about a humbling experience, like I really did think I was a pretty badass person before I joined the army. Like, I felt like I could handle myself. I've been in a few fights and whatnot, and I mean, I certainly lost more than I won, but I knew how to fight. So, yeah, then I joined the army, and it's like the most badass motherfuckers ever are in that shit, and it's just like, you're like, okay, I'm nothing special at all. You know what I mean? I don't know, and I, like I said, I mean, I put a lot of thought into kind of like my mentality and where I was at. You know, the strategies I took. I got as much rest as I could whenever I could. You know, like, rather than call home and stuff like that, I would sleep if I had the opportunity. You know, even if it was for like 20, 30 minutes. You know, any decision. You know, everything is easier when you've had sleep. I tried to get alone time when I could, you know what I mean? So it's like, you know, versus hang out with everybody perpetually and have the same conversations over and over and over again, I would try to spend some time in my head, you know what I mean, and just process what was going on while I was over there. And before I went, I did a lot of kind of like analysis of how I felt about the things that I might be called upon to do in the event that they happen, you know, from dying to killing somebody or whatever. And I just said, you know, that's not me, and war is not really real. I mean, war is something that we create, you know what I mean? It's something that we wage. You know, the earth could give two fucking shits, you know what I mean? The universe could give two fucking shits about what happens in Iraq or, you know, the United States or whatever. And I was just like, you know, this is me if you put me in a corner. You know, if you put me in a corner and you try to take my life, then that's me. You know what I mean? If you put me in these unbelievable, ridiculous set of circumstances, then this is how I'm going to react. But is that Justin? Does that define me as a man? I don't think so. You know what I mean? I think that, you know, this is the real world that everyone lives in that isn't going to change to accommodate me. You know what I mean? Whatever. This is what I have to come back to. So I want to try and hold on to that and just let that be its thing. You know, that was me for a year and some change, and no more than that.
Kind of what your tattoos say. Right?
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like what the tattoo means. I mean, you're always, you know, in control of what you do in this situation, even though you're not always in control of the situation you're in. Where do I see myself in 5 years? Like Charlie fucking Sheen. No, just
winning.
Winning. Yeah, winning. No. I don't know. I would like to think. I'd hope, you know, married. Maybe have a kid. Have a good, successful business, hopefully, and, you know, employees with stable jobs who are happy, you know, in working for the company. You know, maybe some side projects. You know, like hopefully having a little bit more of a reduced role in my business, so that, you know, I can pursue some of the other things I'm really passionate about. You know, like my hobbies and whatnot. Thank you, Redditor 1997. I really appreciate it. And thank you again, Jay Swery.
You should totally be a meme, dude.
Am I comfortable being a meme? Oh my god.
You gotta strike a pose for a meme, though.
Dude.
I don't know what the pose is gonna be. But
do you think that a meme of me would take off?
I don't know. It's gotta be something. I don't know.
I'm afraid, though, because I look like shit right now. I've been up for like fucking like 20 hours.
The WoW poster in the background.
It's gonna be like,
that's gonna hurt your cred too.
It's like, I don't wash my face, but when I do, you know what I mean? It's gonna be something fucking terrible like that. I know. Like, I'm terrified of you guys. Terrified. Let's see. Michael Jackson was a bad motherfucker. You know what's fucked up? Nas K1? Actually, I do. That's fucking funny that you say that. UFO tale. And I don't know. what the deal is over there. I mean, I honestly don't, but this is going to completely discredit everything that I fucking said thus far. But I was on an ambush. Like we did this like 24 fucking hour ambush on this suspected IED manufacturing site, and we were on the roof. And we had humped like 11 kilometers into this position, and the roof had no borders around it, no fence or anything like that to stop the wind, and it was fucking freezing, like freezing cold, and we were wet and we were exhausted, but it was like so cold that you could almost not fall asleep, like almost. And I'm not kidding. Like over there, it's like you can see all the stars in the sky, and I think it's because there's no like electricity over there, so there's no lights that are interfering with the the atmosphere or whatever it may be. And yeah, I'm not even fucking kidding. Like it was the most hilarious thing ever. So we all saw this orange, like little tiny like dot in the sky, like kind of like zigzagging all over the place, like in this like impossible way. And nobody said shit, right? Because nobody wants to be the asshole who's like, "Oh, fucking UFO," you know what I mean? And but fucking Sergeant Nelson, one of the fallen, and just a really good guy. He was old as shit. He was in Desert Storm, and he got out. He was a tanker, and then he came back in as an infantry guy. And this guy's like fucking 45, which is like ancient in infantry years. And this guy like gets on the radio. He's like, "This is Bulldog 1-1. We've got a UFO," like, and everybody. Because everyone always made fun of him because he was fucking old anyway. And it's just like, oh my god, they fucked this shit up forever. Like, they're like, oh, watch out for little green men, like, from then on out. But we all saw it, so. Let's see. There's a, there's a wide range, Jay Swery, in terms of, like, our soldiers, there are a lot of soldiers that are really introspective, or there's some that don't really think about it. It's a mix, like the Army is kind of like, I would say that you're right in assuming that there is kind of like a personality type that gets associated with the infantry, like the whole alpha male thing, but at the same time there's just as many people in an infantry platoon that play World of Warcraft as there are who are like, I'm gonna go to the club and fucking go to the like gym tan laundry type motherfuckers, you know what I mean? Like it's a big spread, so.
Oh, I had a reprisal from squad.
Yeah, as I lost a lot of friends. I had to spend like 2.5 years really under investigation for some bullshit checkpoint shooting, where all I did was try to save this lady's life after she got shot. Yeah, I got jumped. I've gotten threats. I've gotten what can almost be surmounted or I don't even know, interpreted as threats on here during this shit. You guys were badass. You guys downvoted the crap out of them, but there have been some not nice people. I've gotten some nasty grams. Really bizarre. Oh, dude. Fuck. That UFO type thing was super crazy, but no ghosts or anything like that. I've heard stories like that, but nothing super weird. There's just a lot of close calls and stuff like that. I'm kind of debating on telling you the story about this crow. I'll think about it and I'll come back to you. It's my tattoo. And there's somebody asked me if I believed in God earlier, so I'll think about talking about that. Let's see. Guys taking trophies in Afghanistan in the pictures. I'm not aware of that. Could you go into detail about what's happening? I had a first sergeant who convinced a private to smash his balls between two giant magnets. That's fucking original. Yeah, no. My squad leader had us, spray like the upside down liquid duster on our balls and taint, and I had to jump up and down and drink water until I threw up. Getting into third squad was like, the worst possible fraternity ever. I can't tell you like the level of degradation that I went through. Is fucking unbelievable, and the shit that I've seen is absolutely hilarious in the military, but it's all in good fun. So, Space Invaders is pretty fucked up. I don't know if you guys know what that is or not, but there's all sorts of creative punishments in the military, at least in combat arms. Have I seen the Michael J. Fox movie? What movie's that? I have not. I am never gonna watch another movie from Brian De Palma ever again. The DU Penetrator? The DU Penetrator is that like the JHP? Are you talking about the medevac tool? I'll think about the Crow story. Pictures of body parts. That's fucked up. Respect your dead. Yeah, I don't get that. If I were given the opportunity to travel, where would I visit? I would love to go all over the place, honestly. I've always wanted to go to Australia. I've always wanted to go on like a safari in Africa.
That dude offered you a pub in Australia, dude.
Yeah, I should go to Australia. Australia is badass. I got a lot of love for the Aussies. I'd love to go to Rome, and I'd love to go to a place like Greece. I mean, there's a billion places I want to go. None in particular are kind of like more important than the other. It's just kind of like a list that I'm just trying to nail down the best I can. And Japan would be fucking awesome too. No, actually, I did not. I did not see that movie. No, Nos, I did not. I never even heard of it. If I could go back in time and still choose to go to Iraq, absolutely, I would go. I'd enlist all over again. I'd do the whole thing all over again. One day I am. I'm definitely going to come to Australia. Yeah, it does matter kind of when you go to Japan, doesn't it? Too soon, man. Too soon. Um, how do I feel on military spending? I don't feel comfortable talking about numbers like that just because I don't know how it's all broken down. You know what I mean? I'm sure that there's a lot of fat just like in all aspects of government. You know what I mean? And I think it should be trimmed down, and I think we should be donating a lot more money to problems at home. Worst part of boot camp. Fuck. I don't know, man. I'm going to tell you this right now. I did not have an easy boot camp. Like, there's a lot of dudes, like, everyone that's, like, in the infantry, like, just came straight out of, like, high school, and they're, like, you know, out of football and shit, and they're like, oh, I love push-ups. You know, I was, like, 23, and, like, if I wasn't fucking, I wasn't exercising, you know what I mean? And my girlfriend broke up with me, so there wasn't a whole lot of that. So it was, like, I went from, like, you know, dealing blackjack and being a fucking computer nerd, you know, to infantry in like 12 days, and that shit was fucking hard for me, dude. I was not liking boot camp. Like, any aspect of boot camp was not fun. And it's like the little things that get you though, like not being able to listen to music, not being able to talk to anyone you love, not having any creature comforts, not being able to do anything you want to do whenever you want to do it, not being able to sit down when you want, not being able to talk while you eat. Fuck, I mean, going without sex for that long is fucking terrible. You just want to kill everybody. Boot camp just in general sucks. Like, there's nothing good about boot camp at all. What is sleep deprivation like? It's fucking horrible. It's terrible. But it's like you'll start like hearing like womp womp, like all sorts of weird noises, and kind of like seeing shadows move, and it was hard. Like, I was like falling asleep. Like, the longest I've ever been up in my entire life was like 73 or 4 hours or something like that on that mission. And by the end of it, I was like falling asleep like every 30 seconds with the captain, driving the captain in the back of the truck, and like Cortez was like hitting me. I'm like slapping myself to try and stay awake, and I can't fucking do it. And I'm like falling asleep at the wheel. and just fucking wore out. You know what I mean? But yeah, just it's a weird deal. Like getting your second, third, fifth, sixth wind, like it's terrible. It makes everything is complex and everything's super difficult. Yeah. What if the Iraq War didn't happen? There doesn't really seem to be much of a point to all this, except a lot of people and stuff getting pwned. Well, I can say because of me and my platoon, we got Zarqawi. He's a bad guy. I don't know. If we could go without conflict, man, I'd be stoked. I don't like conflict at all. Food I miss them. I would have like food I miss the most. I would have like fantasies about food, like lasagna. Like I mean, it just depends on like what your body needs. Like I mean, I would crave like Caesar salad one day. Like I would like legitimately kill another human being and not feel the least bit bad about it for a bite of Caesar salad. You know what I mean? Like carne asada tacos one day. I remember that very specifically on the bridge. Like, fuck, you just miss food in general. Air assault school isn't hard. I did not go through SEER training. Only special operations guys. I mean, there's a lot of people, and you wouldn't even like believe the amount of people that I meet that bullshit me about what they've done in the military. It's outrageous. Like, oh, I was in SEER and Ranger school. It's like, dude, I worked at Ranger school. You know what I mean? Like, SEER is in no way, shape, or form a part of Ranger school in any way at all. You know what I mean? Like, you've got to go to SEER if you're like, oh, I don't even know if I want to talk about. I mean, most of this information is accessible on the internet, but it's like if you're a pilot of like a chopper, a plane, special forces, SEALs, you know, Marine Force Recon, stuff like that, high risk, you know, like you know, personnel operating with a high chance and probability of being captured, then you have to go to SEER. Oh my god, I got a meme. I'm hit the big time. Thank you.
We might want to consider doing this again tomorrow during the day.
Yeah, for sure. I'm like keeping John up, by the way. I drove over to John's house. John is a stud.
Oh boy, my hair's all fucked up, dude.
Oh yeah, I'm looking like a fucking. This is John.
Hello.
John runs the internet. I don't know if you know that. If all of you were wondering about how all of this happens, all of the magic, John, I'm not going to give up his last name. I almost did. Yeah, no, air assault is exactly like airborne. That's a funny thing. People talk about World War II like it was the glory days of like the American soldier and how hard everybody was and everything like that. And to a certain extent, I agree. But like legitimately during that time, the president of the United States like had to like on behalf of like France and like all these other people like send out letters to our generals that were essentially reprimanding them for all of the rapes that were happening. It was like, you guys need to stop it with the whole raping thing. Like what was it, like 40,000 people like over the course of World War II? It was like 40,000 people in Europe got raped, I think, by coalition forces. Pretty sure it's around there. It's in the book Black Hearts, but Jim did all the work and looked at the statistics. So I think it was just as fucked up then as it is now. I think war is fucked up. I just think it wasn't as accessible back then as it is now. Kind of like, you know, people think that high school is more fucked up now than it was back then, but in reality, people just didn't know about it or talk about it and whatnot. Richie, I absolutely, to this day, get annoyed when people complain about trivial things, but at the same time, I do understand that everyone's got different experiences and perspectives, and I realize that it's not your guys' job or anyone's job to fit in or to make me fit in again. You know what I mean? Like y'all are in the real world. You know, I got to come back to it. So it's you know, I'm working on it, man. Yes, we're gonna post this video. Thank you for all the questions and everything like that. Everyone who's cutting out. Civilian life is good. I'm dating a beautiful girl. My business is about to be in CPU magazine for the first time ever in the May issue. We got some cool stuff going on. So I'm excited about that. I just had an awesome night answering a bunch of questions from an awesome community. So things are going well. Bradley Manning and WikiLeaks. Okay, I actually kind of talked about that a little bit earlier. I'm gonna definitely do another video if you guys want me to. I don't want John to have to stay up all night. But if you're interested in it, he's gonna upload that video, and you'll be able to see my answer to the question about Bradley Manning. Crow's story. Let's see. Do I see these war stories pop up in GQ and so on and say I miss my war? No. You know, honestly, for me, what it is, I miss the people that I served with. I miss doing something important and feeling like what I did every day was important. And I miss, I don't know, I kind of miss the guy I was before all this happened. And I miss having, from time to time, I really, like, when the trials ended, it was like a huge hassle. I mean, I just spent my birthday up on a death row trial in Paducah, Kentucky. I've given up like 4 of my last 5 birthdays to this fucked up shit. You know what I mean? Or some military bullshit in one aspect or another. And it's like, I mean, I accept that and I've done it, but it's really difficult to see something that's so important to me, you know, and something that so many people died for, kind of like fade into like cultural insignificance. When I don't feel like we've done enough to learn from the mistakes that happened, so that this could be prevented again. I think we could do it better. You know, and I think that we really could do it a lot better. And I really hope and pray. I'm really glad for your guys' interest, because I really feel like, hopefully, you know what I mean, something good will come of it, and maybe, you know, maybe one less soldier, you know what I mean, is going to be in the position that I was in, or my platoon was in, and, you know, maybe one person won't die, you know, which is awesome. Do I ever miss the feeling of war? Yeah, I do. Do I need a dog? At some point, I will need a dog. But the girlfriend is particular about what kind of dog that we need to get. And it's a German Shepherd, and she wants to call him Doug Furman or Mike Wazowski, one of the two. And I was just like, okay, cool. That would be hilarious. That would be a good troll. Ass cancer, thank you.
Ass cancer.
Good old ass cancer.
Straight from 4chan. Oh, maybe it's from Reddit.
Patrick Roanhouse. Just send me an email to justin@geekbox.com, and I'll get back to you, or just blow me up on here, or send me a message or anything, and we can do whatever. Pics of the girl. I'm trying to convince her, but she was like, no. I like the idea of cats, but they're kind of like girls. I only have enough room for one in my life. What exactly did I see and hear? I'll probably do. John, how many more questions do you want to do?
Just want to do 5 more?
Yeah, 5 more. Alright, do 5 more
and
questions.
You can wrap it up with the crow story.
Yeah, I'll wrap it up with the crow story. There's been some patient people.
But if there are, I mean,
it's fucking unbelievable. I don't even know if I want to say the crow story. I can't commit to the crow story. Maybe next video.
If you want to do something, I don't know what your schedule's like tomorrow, but if in the morning, I'm up around until 2 p.m. So if you want to get together and...
Alright. Maybe, like, I don't know. We'll figure it out. We'll call you. What exactly did I see and hear? What does that mean? If you could go into detail about that. What is the crow story? Crow. Okay. Well, while that guy fills out the rest of the question. No, so like, I was like fucking pissed my pants, terrified of dying. Like, cause I didn't think I was gonna die, and that might sound ignorant, but I really thought I was gonna like make it through like no problem, and then I like totally thought I was gonna die. So I prayed, and I'm not a religious guy at all, but I was kind of grasping at straws, and I made a deal with God, and I said, God, if you let me come home and say goodbye to my family, you know, I didn't know what I was getting into. If you let me come home and say goodbye to my family and, you know, tell them I love them and stuff like that one more time, then I'll accept my responsibility. Because I kind of took like the easy way most of my life. And I was just good enough and just smart enough to get by. You know what I mean? Like at pretty much everything. I never really took the hard way at all. And my family's not rich by any means, but you know, if I wanted to go to Canada or you know, like go somewhere, you know, I could have disappeared for sure. And I was just like, you know, if you let me go home and take care of business, then you know, whatever happens, happens, and I'll come back. And I made it to mid-tour leave, and I went home and I said goodbye to my family. And I got back on the plane, which was like the hardest thing I've ever had to do, hands down. And I was get back on that plane with my mom and like keep my shit together. That was like, I think the closest I've ever come to crying in front of my mom. And I got back on the plane, and coincidentally, when I got to DFW, I was sitting next to a chaplain, which is kind of like an army battle priest. Okay, and the chaplain, you know, is like a religious figure in the military, but he's like kind of like a one-size-fits-all religions guy. And I was just like, sir, you know, they're all officers. I was like, sir, you know, if you're a good man, or you try to be, and you know, you stuck up for people, you know, in your life, and you've been kind, you know, can you get into heaven? And he was just like, no, you can't. And I was like, fuck. So what should I do? You know, because I didn't believe in God and Jesus the way that like the Bible talks about them. And he's like, well, you have to accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior. And I was like, I can't do that. So he's like, well, what do you know? I was like, well, what can I fucking do? You know, that wasn't very useful. And he was like, well, you can ask for a sign. And I was like, thanks. You know what I mean, guy? You know what I mean? Can't you? Obviously, you're the worst chaplain ever. You know what I mean? And I was pissed. So I was still terrified, mortified, didn't know what I was going to do. And I got back to Kuwait. And we're doing these briefings about what's going on in all of our respective sectors in this big tent in Kuwait. And I don't know if any of you have been to Kuwait, but there's like, I'm not saying all of Kuwait like this, but where I was at Ali Aslam, there's like fucking nothing there. It's like the sky touches the ground in every direction. There's like no bugs. There's no fucking birds. There's like nothing. It's just fucking sand as far as the eye can see. And it's a trip for sure. But in any case, I'm in this briefing, and all of a sudden this fucking I asked for a sign the night before. I asked for a sign because I was desperate and I was out of options. And so I'm in this briefing in this big ass fucking tent, like huge, like epic size, like double XL fucking tent. And all of a sudden this crow flies in, and he sits on top of this this monitor that, not like a monitor, it's like a big display that this is going on. and nobody acknowledged him in the entire. Like I'm like, how fucking obscure, a goddamn crow. You know what I mean? It's like might as well have been like a raven. You know what I mean? It's like fucking huge. Like it was like assembled from parts of lesser crows to like make this ultra crow, and he was just sitting there and he just like looked at me and fucking looked around and like looked at me and instantaneously I was just like, and I know how stupid this sounds, but it's like instantaneously I was like, there you go. I went to bed that night and I woke up the next day. I was never scared again. So, because what I asked God for when I got there was like, when I asked for a sign, I was like, I can't do this. I'm physically incapable. I'm too scared. You know what I mean? I can't do a good job and protect my buddies. I'm not asking you to send me home or allow me to make it through this. All I'm asking is that you take away my fear so I can do my job. And I woke up the next morning and wasn't scared anymore. So that's a kind of a supernatural wonky story for you.
So I ended up hearing back from Ass Cancer.
Okay.
He was just asking about the incident in general, which I'm assuming. So his question was, what did you see and hear? It's okay if you don't want to answer.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Just worry, definitely feel free to get in touch with me. Did you get my email address down?
Yeah, I got it too.
All right,
so
perfect. Thank you guys all for listening and asking every single question and taking your time to do it. I really, really appreciate it. Dope. Well, thanks, guys. You guys got anything else?
Well, there's Ass Cancer.
Ass Cancer. The incident, in Iraq.
Just that's what you... Probably what's a summary, I guess.
I wasn't... Okay, so the squad did that stuff. I wasn't there. I found out about it afterwards in June. I reported it, instantly. All of it was hearsay. I got a confession from my team leader, a direct confession that said I helped Green cover this up because he didn't believe that they should be judged by other people. Like, he believed that they were punished enough and that they just needed to get out. So he's like, you either get out of the army or I'm going to get you out, which is basically like, I'm going to shoot you and you're going to have to leave. You know what I mean? And it's not like it would have been complicated. Like, there are tons of AKs laying around, so it could have happened. But Green chose to play the crazy card and he got out. So he's telling me about that and how he directly... And I wouldn't have bought it so much had it been like hearsay, but having somebody admit something like that on that scale was pretty significant, and I believed him. I just didn't believe how it was told to him because I didn't believe one person could do it. So I talked with some other people that were there, and I didn't know who was there. I had a rough idea because I was the RTO of kind of where everyone was at that day, based on my logbook. And so I just started asking around, acting like I knew more than I did. And I found out that fucked up shit went down. Directly from the guy who was pulling guard while they went out and did it, and from Uribe who covered it up, and that was all the verification I needed. I talked with my dad to kind of give me a little courage power up and fucking turned him in. So that was that. I did not know that, Patrick. I'm in Utah. And what type of substances are y'all rocking? You know what? Honestly, I don't do anything. But over there, people would take pills and drink whiskey. Like, I don't even know why their military does it, but they issue their soldiers whiskey, the Iraqis, and they were more than happy to give it to us for any type of like American pornography or anything like a Maxim or anything like that. So it was like, they called it Fiki Magellas. Fiki, mister. They were very, very pleased. They have a very fundamental respect for American women, let me tell you. Let's see.
There's 2 questions here.
James, to answer your question, why was I convinced it wasn't one guy? Because I was in 3rd Squad with those guys, and we were hands down the most tactically proficient squad in the battalion. There's no way that one guy is going to put on, black, lightweight pajamas, silk weights, and then creep out, in a baklava, and creep outside the wire with an AK-47 You know what I mean? And then infiltrate that same wire without telling anybody. If I saw somebody creeping in with a baklava and an AK-47 or anyone else, that they would have been ventilated like instantly. Like that's a coordinated deal. Like if somebody, and not only that, but the dynamics of Mount, entering and clearing a room. It's not a one-man job. You can't dominate a house by yourself. You know what I mean? Like, and in the situation that I saw, based on the photographs from the crime scene, as well as, you know, just kind of like where the bodies were. The family was separated from the girl who was being raped, and then it's just in my head, you know, as a father, you know what I mean, like, and I'm not a father, but as a man, you know what I mean, like, I don't think I could, I mean, irregardless of guns or anything like that, if somebody was raping my daughter, you know what I mean, I would go out and I would fucking murder them, you know what I mean, like, it takes more than one person to control a hysterical family, and then not only that, but I mean, not that I've ever raped anybody, but I imagine to rape somebody and, you know, do all that at the same time. You know what I mean? So it's a little bit, it just didn't make any sense to me. So I figured that there was more than one person involved, and at that point, you know, I found out it was actually a lot of people. So yeah, Green, that was a pretty big deal. Green actually got chaptered out and, you know, dubbed loony. So he was a civilian by the time he got tried or arrested, which was crazy. Civilian deaths. How many incidents of accidental civilian deaths? I don't know. A decent amount. Not like decent as in good, but like a fair amount, I would say. Patrick, that's fucking stellar. Yeah, I saw a wide variety of Chinese, Russian, you know, Eastern European, like all kinds of AKs, RPDs, RPKs, munitions. I mean, there was, you know, the craziest, most exotic